Okay, I'd like to call to order the Parks, Property and Streets Committee meeting on Monday, November 3rd, 2025 at 1 p.m. Roll call, Howson here.
Berto here.
Art's here, Glasswood's here.
Val here.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, can I have a motion to approve the agenda for today's meeting?
Make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Okay, item 3, the minutes from the meeting on October 6th, 2025. Do I have any amendments or a motion to approve?
I have a couple things. First, I think Jerry and Mike might be the only people who didn't know last month when we talked about moving the grant forward, the admin building. When it came to the board, Louise changed her mind, and so there were not votes. So just to bring you up to speed on that, that did not move forward. On page 4, line 49, Wilkie is spelled wrong. It's Wilke. Also on the top of page 5 on line 1, it's there. And that's all I have.
For page 4, the orchard agreement, I thought that Nate was a no on that.
I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
We
that's
should- we
actually-
should probably update that to be correct.
So one thing that I actually mentioned to Luis was that it's important to give everybody a chance that's voting in the negative.
To take nays, yeah,
So, and
that's why.
Mhm.
Okay. I have just a minor one on page 4, line 29. The last 3 words say during SBA events, that's SBAA. Just add another A. Anyone else?
Sarah, I thought the minutes were very well prepared, very professional. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sarah. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the minutes from October 6th as amended?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nay? Hearing none. We will move on to agenda item 4, comments, correspondence, and concerns from the public. So we'll start with those present. Anyone? Nope. Okay. I don't think no, there was nothing in the packet, right? Okay. Okay, so we're gonna move on to item 5A, which discussion action item A is Triangle Project from Robert E. Lee. And so we have Jennifer from Robert E.
Jennifer.
Lee.
Yep.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
So you wanna, Julie, you wanna go through your report and then?
Just real quick, you all saw in the packet that Jennifer sent a summary of all the public comments. We do have the zip file on that in case somebody wants to see the individual ones, but she summarized it. She did have some questions about driveway locations, and other questions that came out of those comments. So Jennifer, we're just gonna turn it over to you and let you walk us through everything. Any questions that you have of us, things you need decisions from us on, so that we can keep moving it along. Before you do that, I just want to say that we did also send out a letter to people we talked about this briefly last month, asking them who has cars that currently park on the street. We'd like to know so that we can work to help find a solution so they still had park. Nobody responded, but I did talk to one man at the public information session who said they do have 5 cars. It's not their permanent home, it's their second home. They have 5 cars and they were for his children basically. So, but he didn't really comment or request that there be extra parking or anything. So we really didn't get too far on the whole parking, what to do with all these cars that park on the street at. So on that, unless or maybe Jennifer might have more insight from that as well. So Jennifer, go ahead.
Sorry, before Jennifer, so where does that leave us then as a committee? Because even though we tried, we were not successful in gaining some of that information. And as the project moves forward, and then when it's done, and then we hear the outcries, what,
Right,
how do we deal with that?
I think we have to we know that residents park on the street there. We do have, not a lot, but it's the ones that are on Maple between Bluffside and Mill where we're seeing that
Right.
issue. I think it kind of depends on, you know, how many, like, there's one building that has tenants, and he does have a parking lot for his tenants. It's in front of the propane tank there. So I think it possibly depends, do the tenants have a car or not? And, and there's another, like I said, house that has a couple cars that park on the street there. I think we have to decide, are we gonna perhaps offer in the area, if we have a parking area to offer? Is there something that we offer resident parking? Maybe it's like a fee per year for residents, maybe they get a parking pass. You know, to make sure we're not having other people parking there overnight. But I think that's something we have to discuss as we move forward, is what do we do with people that do need parking that don't have it on site? You could require some of them to install parking, but the problem there is they really can't, because if you were to install a parking lot, one, they're very close to their property lines, and then they have the bluff behind them, so it's not like they can go and create a parking lot further off the road for these vehicles. So they're really in a tight situation there. You've got a garage, 2 stalls, or 1 stall sometimes, and then you have a driveway with 1 or 2 stalls.
What's the current ordinance in terms of when you can't be on the street at night? What time to what time?
2 AM to 6 AM.
I like your idea of offering a paid for permit that would allow people within a certain geography to have for a limited time overnight parking. I think most communities do that in
Right.
some way.
I think we just have to. The question, I think, is if we have the parking to do that with, right? Because if we only have limited number of stalls in that whole area. And you're using them for resident parking, we're not really addressing the issues we've had with parking for the businesses, because the businesses do require a lot of parking up and down that street.
Well, in this particular situation, I would put the residents above the businesses. Personally.
So why don't we hear from Jen, see what she has to say, and then have a discussion.
Go ahead,
Yep.
Jennifer.
Yeah, well, thanks for taking the initiative to send out that letter. Understanding any displacements that may happen with parking is going to be really important as we go into the final steps of this project. Going over public comment, a lot of mixed feelings on if the admin building should be raised or staying. That would be one obviously clear direction I would need from you guys on how to proceed, because that's going to be a big factor in our final plan. Other comments were, how are my downspouts going to be connected? Sump pumps going to be connected, and I believe that was addressed last committee meeting, where we would provide a stub to the right of way for them to hook on the private side. Correct me if I'm wrong on that statement.
Did anybody have any negative feedback on that? I mean, I think the committee had asked, like, well, how do people feel about connecting to that? Was there any negative?
Well, what happened is the committee discussed it last month, but they hadn't talked about it before, so what happened was the public was asking, hey, can we connect to it? And then and I talked with Jennifer and we said, well, let's ask the committee, so at the last meeting, I think it was the last one, we discussed, should we require them to hook up if it's available?
So it was after the public, that's right.
Right,
And there is local interest in what's the cost, right?
That's
Because
the
there's an
question.
excavation process that has to take place in somebody's yard.
right,
So
because we can't go in and do it on their private property. They would have to get that lateral to our system, and then we could
Yes.
connect it into ours.
So is it fair to say that that's still a bit of an unresolved issue? We said that in the construction project, we would include the hookup to enable residents to hook up, which we encourage, but we haven't really laid out the cost or the requirement or a timeline for people to connect.
Well, so from our part, we said, yes, we're gonna allow them to connect, that'll be part of our project. And then once we know, the schedule and everything, we can reach out to them and say, this is the schedule of when this will be happening, if you would like to connect. This is when it'll happen, they'll have to work with Jennifer to arrange that connection. We're not gonna be able to tell them what that cost is, of course, because maybe one wants to use contractor A, another one might want to use contractor B. They're gonna have to figure out what it is on their property. But once they hit our right of way, we can connect to our system as part of our project.
Okay, I accept that. I guess the question is, are we requiring people to hook up?
At the last, what did it
Yeah,
say?
the last meeting,
Your
yeah,
minute
the
said,
minute.
yes, you would.
We did say we would.
Did we determine a timeline by which they can connect? Because a lot of times that is a window.
So that would be determined by Jennifer. She's gonna know when that lateral is gonna be there and how much time we're gonna have to actually connect to it. Those are unknowns yet. That would be set by the engineer once we know the schedule.
We've also had other projects, for example, with a water main lateral, where people don't want to hook up or can't afford to hook up right away, and they hook up a year or two later as well. But at least that connection point is for them at that right away to hook up when they can. So we can go, you guys can think about it that way too.
Yeah, I agree that the connection point should be there. I think people are gonna wanna know roughly what the estimate of the cost is and how long they have to hook up. And we probably want to encourage them to try and do it when you've got a contractor coming through doing a number of them at the same time. In my experience, that's when it's the cheapest, to your point,
Yes.
Julie. However, if somebody doesn't have the $5,000 in their budget and they still want to do it, they may have to wait. And then the question is, what kind of enforcement, what kind of process are we gonna have to require people to hook up? That's something I don't understand.
So Jennifer, that would, I would guess you would be sending us those parameters at that time when we're closer to that time period. To know, okay, here's the design now.
Mhm.
Let's, my recommendation is we give them a month or 2 months or whatever to get back to us. And we'll know from there, from that point, who is gonna connect at that point, and we make arrangements to have them connected. Work with, or tell them their contractor, this is when they're gonna be able to connect. And the other ones,
Right.
we just go and we close up the right of way, and they're just gonna have to deal with that later.
Mhm.
When they are ready to connect up, correct?
Yep,
Which will
we can-
cost more.
It'll cost them more, right, at that point, because the road is closed,
But they would know that.
right?
Okay, keep going, Jen.
Okay, sounds good. Let's see here. We had one property owner on Parkview that currently does not have a driveway access. They currently park on the grass. I believe that was worked through to provide them a curb cut. So thanks, Julie, for starting that conversation. We had some overall comments of owners wanting more direction on how the storm sewer is going to look. And then if there's going to be parking on Parkview, I told them that the storm sewer will be figured out in final design. And then on Parkview Drive, that there wasn't going to be any parking or sidewalk for them on the road. Let's see. We have comments from the owner on deck, stating that he does not want to lose the parking by his property. The parking, I can share my screen. I can share a map.
That would have been helpful in the packet when people were referencing concept 2. And
I did ask if
concept
that was going to
2
be in the pack,
And,
but it's not there.
and other things referencing, the options that were presented, and I couldn't, without going to other packets and whatever. So maybe in the future that this
Always put the
continues to.
concept plan in, the latest concept plan.
Yeah, remember we talked about that and I asked if it was gonna be in the packet.
Yeah, and Louise, I thought you meant everything from Jennifer, was that gonna be in the packet, what we had?
So
I
Jen-
didn't realize you wanted the old ones out there yet.
Jen, what are you pulling up to show us right now? Which map?
Yeah, this is the GIS, Door County GIS.
Oh,
This
okay.
is the on deck property right here. And then he has a comment about losing parking by his property. With the road being reconfigured, there in the angle of the parking spaces, he would lose a couple here, or the village would lose a couple here. I have not addressed his comment at this time, given that this is public parking, not, to my knowledge, on deck parking.
We do not have the concept plan in here, I just sent them the comments that we had received. And then the utility and street construction map. Can you pull up the concept plan so they can see how it would affect that property? They can see, where's the right of way, where's public property. And I know with Roots, part of that street, part of the parking in front of him is what was designated as part of that historic property. So he has to be allowed parking in the right of way there. I didn't find anything on the on-deck building by any chance. Are you aware of anything that says he is guaranteed, or some of his parking is protected? Because it doesn't appear to all be public parking right there. That he just use or his people use.
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah, I didn't find anything either.
And Jen, when you pull it up, can you pull up the version where we keep the admin building?
Yep, I'm getting both. Okay, you see a map now?
No, not yet.
Can she do it? Does she have?
She should be able to just share screen.
Yeah, here we go.
Okay, there it is.
And
You
then
see
you'll
it?
have to, yep, and you'll have to zoom in because we're way across the room.
Okay, sounds good. Sorry. Technology. All right. This is the on deck property parking here. Your right of way is this dark dashed black line.
Uh-huh. So there's 6, right? Spaces, sorry. Jennifer, there's 6 spaces there, right? We're all looking at the same thing.
There's 6 right now, yes. I
And this
believe
is-
right now, currently there's about 8 or 9 proposed, there would be 6.
Okay, and then this is the version where we keep, we're keeping the administration building, right?
Well, this, I have right now shown removing, but when we get down to here, whether the building stays or goes doesn't
Okay.
affect this.
Okay. Okay,
So. And the reason we can't keep the same amount of parking slots in front of on deck is because. Of a road width issue, so we have to put the angle parking on a greater angle. I'm trying to understand.
Yes, right now it kind of operates as lack of better words, made up parking. The drive width between where your edge of car would be and the edge of road on the other side is very narrow, not even 2 lane widths when people park here.
And Mike, you can kind of see that in the shadows. There's pictures of cars and they're well hanging into the lane of travel.
Correct. Yep.
When they're
So
rejiggering them, they're making them legal standard parking spots.
Well,
Correct.
something just doesn't look right to me. Are we adding parallel parking on the other side of the street?
there's already a couple spots of parking here.
Oh,
You can
yeah.
see like there's under shadows of cars.
Those spots, are those spots there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So were the 3 spots at Husby's.
Yes.
I mean, those spots in front of on deck are almost always filled and the parallel parking is always used and the road doesn't seem narrow. Is it possible that the angle parking is at the building line on deck, or did you put more of an offset or a wider space between the building and the parking spots? Or is that the same?
It's the same. I'm keeping the same concrete sidewalk width, knowing that you have parking and a building there right up against it. I didn't want to make it any more narrow than what they are currently used to.
Thank you.
Yeah, when there's 2 trucks parked there, either side by side or one in front of another, you notice it even more, but, and I think Mitch even references it in his comments.
Jennifer, the hash area right along Highway 42, did you tell me that was required by the DOT?
So we want a little bit of a buffer in order for cars to be able to stop and make that turn. I may be able to massage a little bit here to get another stall. I can't guarantee that though. But we do want some space here. Because you have a crosswalk. You want cars right up against your intersection.
Unfortunately, I think sometimes when we get down to the nitty gritty and parking and rights of way or whatever, I think some people, it's something that they have utilized or has been accessible. They think that it's theirs, and in all actuality, it's not.
So, I'm sorry, Jennifer, why don't you finish up what you were gonna, I had a couple questions, but why don't you finish up the rest of your presentation?
Okay. Go back to the summary. There's the property owners on Parkview Drive. Are you able to see my screen still?
Yes, but we
Of
can
a-
really see it. It's just an air photo.
Of a map.
But if you look at the packet online, you can see it
On page 12.
on page 12.
So are you showing us the utility and street construction map you sent us, or are you showing us just an air photo? Because it looks like 2 different things there.
She's
Okay.
showing us the GIS.
I will reshare my screen here. Sorry about this. Okay, you should be seeing a concept.
Yep,
Okay, so this is Parkview Drive. We have the Village of Sister Bay's parking lot down here. We have Grassi's and access, and alley access off of the highway. These property owners back here are wondering if the village or how the village would take care of some of the drainage issues happening. At the public involvement meeting, we had discussed of providing a storm dub or the property owners to then work together to kind of to hook up a storm sewer pipe here to kind of relieve some of the drainage that's been happening back in here that seems to be ponding. This has been a conversation probably over the last decade or so. So I don't know if you guys have any questions or concerns about that one.
That stub would allow direct drainage from the back of their properties rather than it running across their properties and being drained in the front, right?
What, can you
What's
repeat that?
Will the drainage stub to drain the water pooling at the back or south side of the properties be allowed for, or will it be expected the water runs across their property and drains in the front of the street?
Yeah, so historically, there's been some drainage issues back here. I believe with some of the developments that happened off the highway. And in order for the water to get out, the homeowners or a homeowner would need to extend a storm sewer all the way to the back to capture that water to get it out. That's unfortunately not a public project. That's more of a private property owner.
So basically, it would be engineered so that they could stub it, but it would be at their expense to stub and drain. is what
Correct.
you're-
Yes.
Well, I wanna go, I wanna stay in that point, Jerry. So, and I would agree, a homeowner is responsible for the grade on their property and any French drain they might put in the back of their property. Do they have to drain that into the same stuff that their sump pump is gonna run out, or is there gonna be other stubs there for that problem?
I would provide a separate stub because your stub for your sump pump is going to be about 4 to 6 inches. The stub for the storm sewer would be between 10 and 12.
Okay.
I'll say it's unfortunate that property owner has to pay for that drainage. Because he didn't create the situation, but I think if we don't allow for that, you guys, if we don't allow that separate stuff for that. We're gonna continue to have water issues back there.
Well, I think it's good that we're providing the stub for that. And I'm not sure of any situations where a homeowner isn't responsible for the grade of their own property. You know, they may have a dispute with a neighbor that they have to resolve. But usually you're responsible for that as a homeowner.
Yeah, that one actually involved some litigation where there's some fill, but our job here is, do we all agree that we should put in that stuff for that 10-inch, 12-inch line?
Yes,
We do. Well, I don't know.
I do.
He's.
Okay.
Jennifer, that's consensus by all that we would indeed pay or allow for that stub to be put in there.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, let's see what's next. The next comment would be kind of the last comment I have that's overarching that I need direction on is there was a conversation with this owner here and wondering if there would be a way to make this a two-way and also potentially closing this off and just be a pedestrian access. We had talked at length with myself and Jared and Julie at the PIM that if this access was to be closed and this would only be pedestrian, that this owner would then need some sort of easement or access easement at Grassie's to get access to his property. He hasn't really brought it up again, but I feel like that conversation should also be addressed formally. So there's kind of a lot to unpack here. He had asked if this could be a pedestrian route, which would then close off his access, which would require an easement, or if this could be a two-way so that he could get access to here.
Jennifer, I thought when we talked, making Parkview right there two-way, I know that, the residents I spoke with said they were okay with that being two-way as long as it was signed no public outlet. So the only people going up and down that road were the residents. And as long as it was signed or something was done to make sure people can't park on the side of the road, thereby preventing them from going up and down the road. For the committee's benefit, what we heard and what we saw photos of were people going to the park or events. They're parking up and down that extremely narrow section of road there, and they're on both sides. People can't get in the driveway, they can't get down the road. So one thought was, well, if it was one way, somebody said, well, what if it's one way? Would that help? And the people that live there said, look, we think it should be, the ones I spoke with, we think it should be two-way. We don't think there should be an outlet on there unless you're given access to that business Jennifer was talking about. But something, as long as you can prevent the people from parking on the sides of the street, it won't be an issue. So I don't know if that's a higher curb signage, I don't think really works when we're busy. What our office has found at least. So I think if you can, I personally think, and when I was talking to those people, they were okay with it being two-way as long as, like I said, it was stubbed off, so there's no outlet onto Bay Shore Drive right there. So it would just be pedestrian only like you're talking about. And they said that would really work as long as something was there to make sure people couldn't park on the street.
Is it wide enough to be two-way?
It is, when it's limited traffic only like that, it is, cause you get, one would just slow down and wait for the other one to go around it, cause the only traffic on that road would be the people that live there.
Right, okay.
Or the business that would have an access into its
Okay.
business,
So the challenge would be to how do we eliminate parking on both sides?
right?
So
So-
you talking about access to Grassy's Grill or access to Kind Goods?
To Kind Goods. Jennifer, it was the one to the south, right? He
Yep.
is the one who said he'd prefer that access point to be closed off.
Well, it would then be
Pedestrian-
but it would be Grassy's too, they wouldn't be able to access Grassy's.
Well, Grassy's would have to, you can see the arrow where Grassy's can come in.
Yeah.
But then Grassy's would wanna, probably, I think they'd have to exit out that road as well.
Oh. Okay.
That's how it operates right now. It's a one-way through. They don't let anyone out through the alley onto the highway.
Okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I thought we were gonna make that a dead end, so.
So
okay.
the no outlet though, Jennifer, if we put that no outlet, it would just be closer to
Yeah,
the buildings, basically on Bay Shore Drive.
yeah, so that they could still drive through and go, I guess, north from Grassy's.
Yeah, then the road would technically end where I have this red line.
Okay.
And then this property owner would need to get an access easement from Grassy. Or we keep it a two-way in quotations and allow like a little swoop into his driveway, because his driveway is right here.
Well, if you make it two-way, you're gonna have somebody driving into Grassy's drive, back, in the back of Grassy's.
You shouldn't have, as long as it's, signed one way.
Okay.
On Grassy's.
I'm sure this would make some other headaches and there's some other complications I'm not thinking of, but we do have a public parking lot right here. What if we connect into that from Grassy's and we at least have the Grassy's traffic exit out through there?
So we talked about that, Jennifer, and I can't remember the dilemma with that.
Yeah, so if you allow vehicle traffic through, you're gonna lose a couple stall spaces to make that connection.
And it's working now, so I don't know that we need to do that.
What I'm saying, if you wanna have it. If we'd be putting a fair amount of two-way traffic, and I suspect most of the traffic that's not the residents there. Is gonna be people that come into Grassy's, and that's what I'm looking and saying, okay, well, what can we do to mitigate that, so there's not those people going through there? Cause if they're not going through there, they're not gonna look to park there. You know, the people that live back there, I suspect are not the people parking on the side of the road.
Right, no, yeah.
And I don't think the people parking on the road are the ones going to like Grassy's or Kind Goods, it's the ones going to the park and to the events.
And so you don't think that the regular curb and gutter that we're gonna have throughout this whole project will deter parking enough?
I think,
When you talked about a higher curb, I mean, what's your thought process?
so I know we had talked about rolled curb through some of this, Jennifer.
Mhm.
We could put high curb there, correct? Which would help deter some of it.
Yeah, we can put high curb on Parkview since Parkview has no parking at all. And where we
Says-
allow,
If we don't want parking on there.
correct. Harder for a car to jump a 6-foot vertical or 6-inch vertical curb head than a 3-inch rolled one.
Yellow too.
Right.
And where were you gonna have rolled curb?
We talked about rolled curb through like, in front of Lure on Bluff side there.
Yep.
We've talked about
Down
rolled
here.
curb there, so, if people had to move over or out of the way or, what else, or a truck get through there, I think we had talked about, that's why we would have rolled curb. Trying to think back, that was like 2 months ago.
Yeah, it
Um,
also allows the car to transverse over to be able to park into their parking stall.
So, I mean, there'll be trucks there for deliveries. I don't think any place else besides,
Jennifer, as far as the concern that people would use it to get to Grassie's from the back way, use that. Or maybe in, is there a way to? I've seen sometimes, you know, where you pull up to something and there's like a concrete median there, so there's no way you can go the wrong way into something. Is it possible to do that there, or is that overkill for that type of intersection?
I feel like that would be difficult because you have, if we keep this width here, which is essentially a one-way road width, then there's no sense of relief for any of these vehicles should there be two coming head on. Then this person here is stuck.
How wide is that, the part you have to run is one way?
Right
Is it-
here, I
Yes,
think I'm 12 feet.
which is normally one lane.
One lane worth, yep.
But like I said, the people said we can make that work that live there. The problem is
Mhm.
you get somebody that doesn't live there, they're not gonna understand that 12 feet is for 2 lanes of traffic. And there's no,
Unless you leave it as signed as a one-way only, but then I don't know if there's a way to not enforce these people to go down the wrong way.
not one way for you. That's hard.
could it be one way and then a sign that says local traffic only? I don't
Maybe.
know.
Yeah, I don't see two-way myself, I really don't, but I can see how it would need to be one way going south. So,
I mean, it's one way today, right? And it's kind of working as is, except for the parking problem, but the curb should hopefully resolve that parking problem and
make
hopefully
it better,
people
right?
understand you don't just park in the middle of the road and walk away.
Mhm.
If they do, then it becomes an enforcement issue, I guess.
Well, I think the other concern was the location of that access point on Bay Shore Drive. We definitely don't want vehicles pulling onto Bay Shore Drive from there.
So I don't think we really have a problem with that today.
I rarely see it,
See a car coming.
I think it's mostly foot traffic, but
Yeah,
I'm not there all the
Jennifer,
time.
did that property owner elaborate why he thought that should be closed off?
No, he didn't. Not that I recall.
I might have a guess, because I know with Fall Fest, they had mentioned wanting maybe a blockade. I think they potentially have some wrong way traffic trying to exit that way. But I know that's when they talked to me about Fall Fest, if they could get maybe a barricade, since we were talking barricades. And so that might be a guess, but might be along those lines of people just going the wrong way.
Eric, is there signage at where that alley ends on 42?
Yeah, we put extra signage out there too for Fall Fest.
What's the signage say? Is there just an arrow that says one
Yeah,
way?
it's like one way, do not enter
Okay,
type stuff.
okay.
I know there was a concern when cars pull out from there onto Bay Shore Drive that you just can't see, you know, because there's sidewalks there and stuff, but I think as long as I think if it's cleaned up and the one-way signage is clear, I would think that would help. I mean, I guess if there's not a problem, are we going through this because of the request of one property owner? Instead of doing what's for
Well,
the
we
benefit
can
of the people?
address his concerns or her concerns with signage.
Yeah, instead of closing it off, if we just have proper signage and proper curbing.
Yeah, because I think closing it off And there's problems with access and the driveway, and there's a lot of other challenges that come into play, and signage can probably fix the issue that they're trying to address.
Is this open to public comment by chance as one of the property owners?
Could you identify yourself?
Yeah, John Ollis. I'm John J. and Monica L. Ollis Trust Property. I can turn
Okay,
my
I'm
video
sorry.
on. I can turn my video on.
You're great. And where are you located?
Right here. This property. There you go. Thank you very much, Jennifer. You're on the property.
All right, thanks for. Thanks.
Yeah, and I know that a lot of the questions, I think with proper signage, keeping it one way, I understand the concern of the owner of Donald's property, the Mr. Cox. If you keep the signage proper, I think you would eliminate that. We're up there all summer. We are there from the beginning of the summer to the end of summer, or May 1st through at least Fall Fest. And the thing is people don't know it's one way because there's really no good signing. I think if you did proper signing, it would eliminate that. The only thing that had happened was behind Grassi's building, they had put a sign there that said "one way, do not enter," which kind of forced some cars down that alleyway onto the highway. But it's very limited. They usually get there and they usually turn around and they start going back the other way when they see the sign. I think keeping the one way, keeping the alley access gives access to all the properties and has no flow through Grassi's property. This is just obviously a private residence comment, but I've seen it before. I've seen the parking through all the different fall fests. I've lived through the whole development of the parking lot and that whole area there. And obviously the drainage with the water issue, and I appreciate you guys addressing that. But I think keeping it one way and doing proper signage would eliminate people from going down there. One way, no through traffic. Because there's only one sign right now at the end and it's kind of turned cockeyed and you can't really see it. And people hesitate, but they still come down.
Okay.
That's the only feedback I have. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, do we need consensus?
Yes, I think, are we all in consensus that just keep it one way, better signage
Mhm.
and with a higher curb?
Yes.
Would
Okay,
work?
everybody, Mike,
Jennifer, that's
Okay.
the consensus of the group.
Nick, you're good?
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. And then another comment too would be down by Lur, where they have a handful of parking stalls that are in public right away and on private property. We had met with the property owner here. He's interested in should at his discretion, if he wants to move forward, but he's wondering if we could do some sort of agreement between the property owner and the village on putting perpendicular or like slightly angled stalls here to kind of get more stalls on this run of Bluffside, knowing that when we get into the driveway discussion, there would be potentially more of a defined driveway on his property.
So when we talked about this last time, that would require us to either acquire land or do a real estate easement, correct?
Correct.
If we kept it parallel to the road, we would be able to stay within our right of way.
Correct.
Was there any conversation whether he would give us that land for free so that could happen? So the right of way could, and pay for the legal costs to amend the plat to make sure that, to put them in perpendicular?
Yep. So we did not talk about cost at the meeting. We talked about him needing to provide a proposal for that modification or suggestion or what he was proposing to do.
Did he give us anything?
I have not seen anything. I don't know if either of you have seen anything.
No, we received nothing.
I
Okay.
think if the property owner would like to add parking there by giving us an easement to his property, so the front half of the car's on his property, back half's on ours, if there's no other cost to the village, we should consider that. And a quick claim deed is not expensive. I'm not sure we need to make him pay for it. the village benefits with more parking.
Well, you might have to amend your road plat though. Which is quite a bit of money, because we've been through that.
I mean, what
Yeah,
we're
I-
doing
Yeah,
right
unless
now.
you do an easement, you can grant him an easement too. Then you wouldn't have to change it right away.
Easier.
Why
I-
would we want him parking on the village's property?
I thought it was the reverse.
So
it's
it's,
his property.
right now, it parallel.
Well,
with-
you just said, Mike, half on his and half on the village's.
Okay, let me explain that. My understanding from this drawing was if we put angle parking. You make a good point. Maybe all of it could go on his property and then the road can be wider. But I just assumed that we would just need a few feet of easement because we already have angle or parallel parking there. And you'd need a few more feet to get the car in at an angle.
If you're taking these.
I mean, maybe I
parallel stalls,
misunderstood.
Yeah,
Depending
with
on
that.
that angle.
I think
so
you
that the
need
stalls are
quite a
longer,
bit, Mike,
the
but maybe
higher.
Jennifer knows. So Jennifer, if we did that, how much of an easement or acquisition would we need from that property owner?
I believe it'd be about 10 to 15 feet. I did not look at it in full detail. I wanted to get kind of your feedback first before I go forward with that option, but about 10 to 15 feet at
If
most.
if he's willing to give the easement or take care of that whole part of it, it sounds like we would actually gain more parking. I think too, though, one thing, you guys, we'd have to make sure it doesn't end up being business parking. We gotta watch that. Remember,
That's what I
can't
just said to Jerry. Whose parking is it?
right.
Because it's public parking.
Yeah, I think it has to end up being public parking.
I
But he would, his business would benefit from it.
Well,
But
couldn't
the
that be
village
part
would
of-
benefit from it also. I mean, I don't know the cost, Denise. I'm not sure. What I'd be worried about just having parked my car there before is that. There may have to be some grade changes there in order to do that. I don't know.
Yeah, there's not enough room right now with the amount of hard surface there is for all the stalls to fit. There would need to be additional grading and extension into his property for the parking stalls and pavement.
There's angled parking there today, correct?
Yes,
Yes,
And the width of a spot here is what? 8 feet, 7 feet?
8 feet for your
That's 8, so yeah, I would think you
Parallel.
need another 8 to 10 feet. I'm guessing, you're the expert.
yeah, I would 10 to 15 at the max.
Do we all agree that angled parking is beneficial? So getting an easement would be beneficial, provided it still remained public parking and was not considered private parking
And it didn't add cost.
and did not add costs.
I would suggest that that would be a
yep, I would agree.
good idea.
Only quibble would be not materially at cost, because it's a little bit, it's.
Good point.
If it's a lot, then.
Nate, are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Jennifer, that was consensus to pursue the angled parking with him. And go with that as long as it's remains public parking and there's no cost to the village for the easement or the land.
Okay, I'll re-engage that conversation. And if need
It's
be,
real- I think it's really important to stress that it remains public parking, because as we know, there's private signs, as we often see, there's private signs on our parking. Or people assume it's, the public stalls are there.
There are
with
there
their stalls.
today. I don't think there are on that road today.
I believe there is.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
there?
I drive by it every day. Yeah. But it would increase the stall, so hopefully it would not be an issue.
Yeah.
Well, shouldn't we ask to remove those signs?
Well,
If they're
technically
illegal
it's on
signs.
his property right now, because we own half the stall and he owns half the stall.
Shouldn't we ask him to remove the parking signs?
I don't know when those stalls went up there. Right now, knowing we're going into the road project, I don't know if it's worth that.
Okay.
But I think if there's an agreement, I would agree with Denise, there should be no signs there that say it's private parking after we're done with it.
I agree. And Jennifer, I think that's really important to stress to him.
No,
Yep.
no signs at all pertaining to anything about parking. They're just.
Unless
He won't put up.
Unless the
signs.
village puts. it
Yeah,
up.
the private individual won't put signs there. We reserve the right to put whatever kind of signage we deem fit in the future.
Okay, well, let's see what he says.
Okay, Jennifer, what's the next one?
I think that might be it here.
You had some questions on driveways?
Yes, that's a whole other topic that we can transition to. I'm just making sure we have all of the key public comments addressed. The last one would be the first I mentioned is raising or keeping the admin building.
Well,
And if
Jennifer,
that,
when I read through it, there weren't very many comments about the admin building. There were 4 in favor of keeping it and 1 in favor of raising it, unless my count's wrong.
I don't have a specific count, but I believe there's that ratio that you stated is correct.
I had 3 and 1, but I didn't count Daniel Wynn because I didn't know what concept 2 was. And if that was with the admin or not, the admin building.
Concept 2 is with the admin building.
So that would be 4-1.
Yeah.
So it's not, it sounds like there wasn't,
There wasn't an outcry.
yeah, I was gonna say, I don't wanna generalize here, but it sounds like it wasn't strong either way.
Well, I would remind people though, that people that came to a meeting, one of the parks meetings, it was very strong that they wanted to keep the admin building.
Yeah, there were 3 people, I think, that all spoke on it. I don't know if there's overlap though.
There isn't.
between-
No.
Julie, for the Knowles Nelson, was there any chance to, I know it was a long shot to look into that to see if that could potentially be a encumbrance option?
Yes, it is based, we'd have to see what the value of it is. We still don't know the value of
Yeah,
the
right.
other lot, but we'd have to determine the value of it, but that was an option. To fix the problem that we're having on the marketplace lot.
Yeah, 'cause this one's slightly bigger than that, and it's about the same distance to the water. I'd be fingers crossed, hopeful it would be an option.
I would think so too, because. In my mind, you're on the street, the side of the street with most of the activity, so now you also don't have all those people trying to cross the street either.
And that would be a big financial unencumbrance for the village to get that taken care of.
Right, if it's approved, right?
Okay, Jennifer, you wanna go through the driveways?
Yes, so the building is still being discussed, is that correct?
We're gonna have to
Already
come back to
people
it in
wanna
the
keep
meeting,
it, so.
I think we're kind of delaying it to see what else we
Okay.
got, and then we'll come back to it.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so driveways.
Before we leave the drawing though, does it make a difference if the building is there or not in terms of the parking that you've added around the building location?
Yes,
Let's
So
just say it a different way.
Okay,
What's the difference in terms of the number of parking spaces available with option 1, which would be removing the current admin building, and option 2?
yeah, we're
How many
with removing the admin building, you do gain quite a few additional stalls.
How many we'd have keeping with the admin building in place, and how many we'd have
I
removing
did
it?
that at last month's meeting.
Right, but I'd like to just see what she says.
I'm gonna try to pull it up.
Is it 17?
And then also, I think you mentioned earlier that in terms of on deck, you could probably squeeze 1 space with on deck. So I'm assuming that the parking lot, this parking space count you're gonna give us will be the one that would be without maybe 1 more space on deck.
Correct. Okay. You're gaining about a dozen stalls
Removing it.
by removing it.
Okay, and where are the majority of those stalls?
That you're adding,
Where are they? Where are they located?
they would be within that triangle of where the admin building.
About
Yes.
half on Bluff side, half on Maple.
Okay,
Can you add spots leaving the building there?
what do you mean?
If we leave the building there, couldn't you add some additional spots, either angled parking on both sides of the building? Well, in that drum, okay, so
Yeah,
that's,
you might be able to add like one or two down here to kind of squeeze them in, but you're not
Both
really gonna
sides,
gain
right?
anything.
well,
No, just on the one side.
So in the packet last month, we had option one, which no administration building, 90-degree angle parking, there were 31 spaces. Option two, no administration building and 60-degree parking. There were 24 spaces. And with the administration building, we had 11 spaces.
the question I was asking, is there an option for more parking with the administration building there? That was the question I was asking, which is not one of the options.
Well, it was an option in the last packet, and that's where they showed the maximum amount of parking they could get with the administration building there. So it included parking above and beyond today and spots that there aren't parking today.
Thank you.
So, I mean, I don't know why we're kicking this down the can and we can't talk about it now. We have all the information we need.
I think you should make a decision so she can get engineering.
So it's whether or not we wanna save the building and have more parking spaces or raise the building and, sorry, save the building and have fewer parking spaces, probably 9. Or raise the building and have more.
What's the incremental cost of the plan? Is there a cost per design? Do we know that yet?
A difference in the cost between one design and the other?
Correct.
I mean,
Yeah, which would
I don't
include
know.
tearing down the building.
yeah, it's gonna have to be done, yeah. And that's in, I don't know if that's in there or not.
No, we don't have cost estimates on it yet.
I think what I'm hearing you and Jennifer say is those you kind of gotta pick a path to go down here because we can't do both of them parallel forever.
Right?
Cause a lot of the efforts could be,
She needs to get the engineering done so she can put it out get it approved by the board, put it out for bid and line up contractors to start in spring.
Okay,
So
then,
we gotta talk about schedule too. So I think it was the last meeting that you guys approved going forward with a contractor working in the summertime. To pull that off, that's gonna be a large amount of effort because we also have to consider WPS has to come in and relocate all of their facilities as well. And this urbanization is going to take 4 to 5 months to complete. We can look at, and also having a contractor come in the summer, you will maybe pay a premium to house the workers. It'll be within the bid items themselves. But there may be a premium to do summer work in this particular area, given where it's located. What we can also consider,
Recommendation was requiring work in the summer, just that if it makes
We live
sense,
some
we would
moratorium.
allow it.
yeah,
Right?
yeah, what I would probably recommend doing, and you might get better pricing, is to do the utility work. So we have this whole network of storm sewer that needs to get done, and we have spot repairs on the sanitary sewer and some water main replacements that need to get done. We could look into WPS relocation that could get done late summer or after Fall Fest. And then in spring of 27, come in and do the road work, the concrete and the asphalt. And I know there was concern about, well, now you're having 2 MOBs. Yes, you're having 2 MOBs. However, they're different contractors. You're going to have a general bid the project, get awarded the project, but you're going to have a utility contractor do the utility work, which is going to be separate than your road and concrete crew, your contractor, if that makes sense.
I'm sorry, Denise, yes.
Is there a compromise? Do we want to move the administration building?
Where?
I'm just asking, if there's people that wanna save it. Is there a place to move it, repurpose it? I'm just saying, it's something that has not been
No,
brought
I'm
up,
thinking, yeah,
and
I
I'm
mean,
trying to think outside of the box.
if somebody is passionate about saving the building, you're right, they could try and pick it up and move it elsewhere. I don't know if that would survive a move, that'd be their determination, but
I don't mean, in my opinion would be, I don't think we, meaning the village, wanna move it.
no.
But, if somebody else wants to move it, wherever they wanna move it to. I guess, yeah. If they want.
It's an interesting thought, Denise, but I think and having thought about it for exactly 2 minutes, there might be more to it, but my desire had always, or has been to see that building be sold with constraints and fund the village hall, portions of the village hall project. And that's how I see that making sense, and I understand the
Right.
compromise that doesn't do that for there, I
Right.
appreciate that, and just
I'm
I'd
just-
really have to digest my math first blush, and again, acknowledging not a lot of time thought or thinking about it, and I appreciate the suggestion. I don't think it checks that box for me.
Okay. So what
Can I just say
do
something?
you think is that we are going to be able to sell whatever property is left there that the building's sitting on with restrictions on the building? What do you think the village will net to go towards the village hall? Because you have to have a gut feeling. I'm just asking for your gut.
I mean, it's a pretty big variety, but I mean, it's. I'd say somewhere between $200,000 and $500,000 for that, and I know that's a range, but I mean, there's not a lot of. The location, yeah,
For a postage stamp lot with a building that everyone that wants to keep it wants to restrict its exterior. So it stays looking the same. And you don't think that that will diminish? And what is it, 1,500, 1,400 square feet, or no, 1,700 square feet?
I don't
Think.
remember. offhand.
I think when we were talking about space wise for the new admin building, I think it's 1,700, 15 or 1,700.
so do you have a number that you had thought was valid?
No, nowhere near any of that.
Well,
Okay.
just going back to your suggestion of moving it, what I like about that suggestion is it reminds me of the barn. Right, we could offer that as an option for the historical society to raise money and to move it. And we provide it, if it's something that people feel is historic, we give them an option. Rather than just tearing it down or leaving it up.
May I say something? As
I'm
a
gonna
representative?
suggest that, I'm sorry, John, since we're not gonna be doing this anytime soon, and for Jen's time, I'm gonna suggest we talk about the timetable, move on and talk about this at the next meeting if we need to. We don't need to make a decision today, is that all right?
Well, Jen, you do need to know whether. Well, do you mean Louise agree that the building goes and then whether it's torn down
Or
or
whatever
moved
happens
is a
with it,
different
right,
one?
cause right now, she was talking about the timetable and then we kind of changed lanes.
Right, so do we all, well, let's have a vote on that. Are we better off with the building gone and it used for parking? Or keeping the building there and having less parking?
I'm in favor of removing the building in some fashion, having more parking and seeing if that's a Knowles Nelson option. But if we tried to, I think, preserve its nature and sell it commercially, I think we would have nonstop asks into the planning commission of, oh, we can't do this because of the setback. Oh, it requires this many parking spots, can't do that. Like it would be, it's such a small lot, like you couldn't physically rebuild that building there today within the code.
That is correct, you cannot rebuild it. Just real quick before you vote, my concern on this, when I look at this one, and I don't get to vote, of course, is. I think you're compounding your parking problem, because you have no legal parking, so. I don't know what would go in there, but even if it's a house, where are you gonna put the parking? So now you've made the parking situation worse, but that's something I think we have to look at, weighing pros and cons. Denise, keep the Louise, is it okay that I told a poem like
Of course
that?
it is.
Okay, go ahead. Denise, you're with Jerry,
Concur with Jerry.
Louise?
Yeah, I would agree. And I also think that we have to keep in mind the neighborhood and the folks in that neighborhood. And I'm not sure they want another business there or whatever that the business might be, who knows, I'm not sure. That would take up the parking that we've now created for them. And also I mean, I think it's a nice place for a nice little park. Right? That could be done because it's not huge, but it's small and we could put some trees there and it's a nice little. So I would agree, it'd be great if we could save it. I'm not opposed to that in the least.
I'm against raising it.
Against. Mike?
I don't have a strong opinion on this. My sense is that in the community, more people would prefer to see it saved in some way, and I think the move option is potentially an alternative. Simultaneously, if we got $150,000 for it, it would give us a lot of money for the village hall. So I could go either way on this, so I will support what the other members decide.
Well, I think we have the majority would say save or raise.
I think majority just said,
Sorry. not
use
save or
that
raise,
space,
I beg
use
your pardon.
that space for
Raise or
parking.
remove.
Yeah, raise or remove, we'll deal with that at a later date. For now, let's go ahead and engineer it as if the building were not there.
Can I just ask a question about how this moves forward? So thinking about this, this engineering design will come back to parks, properties and streets. And then that'll go for board approval later on. So the board isn't gonna weigh in on that effectively at that point, if the board decides not to move it, it's not going to be about that building, it'll be about the entire project.
Right, because then we'll have to stop the entire project and re-engineer it. Which is why we sent the notices for the public informational sessions to the trustees that. Hoping if they had concerns or comments, they would at least follow along in the process.
Okay,
However, the board would be able to say, let's move it.
Right.
Right? That would be the choice for the board, move it or raise it. Let's see if there's a way to move it.
Right.
okay, so then the next stop would be ultimately go or no go on the entire project. That's the next time it'd end up at the board potentially. As it's scheduled.
The project the way that it's designed.
Yeah, okay.
Everybody good?
Do we need a vote to capture that officially, that we
Is it
move to
consensus or what
recommend
do
Robert E. Lee to design the project without the admin building?
Why don't you make it as a motion so it's more clear cut?
Alright, that's what I move.
Well, Jerry, do you have a motion?
Yes. I move that we advise Robert E. Lee to design the project with the additional parking spaces and removing the admin.
Okay.
Can I amend that? Contingent upon,
Well, you need a second before you can do the amendment, then after the
Okay.
second, then I believe you can.
oh, I'm sorry,
I
well,
will second Jerry's motion. You want to amend that?
my amendment would be, I would approve that contingent upon the Historical Society being offered, the opportunity to raise money to move the building and locate it someplace else.
I don't think the amendment would preclude that.
Okay,
Cause basically they
I'm not
design
sure.
it and how the building gets moved is kind of Robert E. Lee doesn't care. They just care that it's not there when they pay for, right?
But he wants to be sure. I mean,
Yeah, no, I'm fine with the amendment because it doesn't materially change, so.
It could be, I would say it could be, just to make this more complicated, it could be the historical society or another entity.
Yeah, I would just say that
They're
any
loaded with things
entity
that they are
interested in
moving and
relocating
building
it would be
and stuff.
considered.
right,
So it could be another entity as well.
So when you've got an amendment, then you think you need a second on the amendment.
Will you second?
You're not going to second.
Someone else. Do I have a second? Someone. Denise seconds it. Okay.
Now I believe you voted.
And then since did you read the?
Oh, Sarah will not read it.
So I'll try to restate it then so that we can make sure it's captured. So the amended motion is to advise Robert E. Lee to design the project with the admin building not in place and will consider options for raise or relocation.
No, we have two motions too. Yours is the main motion, Mike's is the.
So it's just combine. No, that's not how it works, okay.
So we have to vote on offering it to an entity who would like to save it, to do something with it.
I will move that we offer the building to some entity that would like to save and move it. But agree that it doesn't stay in the same location.
That was already a motion and a second, so I think.
So now we vote on the first and then vote on the second.
No, vote on the second, then the
Vote
first.
the amendment first. Robert's Rules of Order, come.
Okay,
Thanks, Denise. I'm glad I know this now.
okay, but we need a vote. So we need to vote for the second first. Correct, right? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Alright,
Do I hear any nays?
Nay.
Thank you. Okay, now we're on the first motion, sorry. All in favor?
aye,
Any nays?
Nay.
Nay, okay. I got, nay.
So you got that, Jennifer?
Yes,
Jennifer,
we
yeah.
can move
Okay.
forward.
Okay, can we just go back to on deck then real quick? I just wanna make sure that's clear, cause I
Thank you,
didn't
Jerry.
have that clear. So with on deck, you were gonna, what, was it consensus? We're gonna try and squeeze another stall in there?
Yeah,
we-
I think I can shift
No,
this a little
Jennifer
bit.
just said that she thinks she might be able to tweak it a little bit, but I don't think we have necessarily consensus on that.
Okay.
My concern is, it is a narrow road, heavily trafficked, two very popular businesses, well, the whole corner.
Yeah.
You know, Bowl, Ace, Husby's and On Deck. And to try to tweak it and curtail that vision triangle and try to move the parking down a little bit more towards the intersection. I think we'd be remiss doing that. I mean, we've lived with it, you know, for all the years that it's been here and not, at 90-degree angles and which it will never ever be, but let's just try to make it the best that we can and not try to make that intersection worse after what's been presented now.
So leave it the way it is. In the way it's drawn.
Yeah.
can we just ask, I mean, does the designer believe that she can make the adjustments without messing up the integrity of the design or safety? I'm sorry, I forgot her name.
Jennifer,
Jennifer,
Yep, I could take a look into it. There might be like this, if I shift everything a little bit here, I might be able to get another stall here, but you may be overhanging a little bit into the loading dock. I would never propose something that would negatively impact or affect the intersection here.
so Denise, you're willing to have her take a look at it and maybe there's one more edit, or you wanna just,
Whatever the will of the committee is.
Jennifer, did you design it to be the best possible engineered situation based on circumstances?
I did, and you do have like a little point here where there's the existing stall is kind of in this location. I think there's like a concrete curb or something in this area. So that's kind of like my given point here, at this point.
So if it's
Then-
already engineered to the way you think it should be engineered, are we okay with it just the way it is?
yeah, if that's
Yeah.
the way it should be engineered, then fine.
Mike?
And then this spot too, like this allows, some people might prematurely kind of use this as a right turn lane as well, and that gives them that space.
Oh, they will absolutely do that.
Yes. Yeah, they're trying to get up the hill.
Yeah.
Mhm. And as far as visibility goes, I mean, taking a right or left turn in that whole downtown area is always a crapshoot anyway. So having a space to be able to see who's coming is a good thing.
Mike?
I don't have a strong opinion, other than that if she could have fitted in and maintained the integrity of the design, I would have her do that. And I would just ask that as we finalize this, if that's still a possibility, it should be considered, but we're talking one space here, so I'm not gonna go to the mattresses.
Don't forget too, that further, I guess we're going east then down Maple, there are more spaces there. And that's pretty,
Yeah, that's a good point,
That is pretty
because
close walking
removing the
distance.
building does create more.
yeah, very close,
spaces
and
along.
essentially, as you walk down there. On deck's the only business, because the others, like, for that type of business, it's the only business, because Roots is dining and or, I mean,
Mhm.
really, and dining is for many times not for the public, so, during the day, sorry.
Nate, you didn't weigh in on that, everybody else did. Leave it just the way she feels it should be engineered, or?
Yeah.
Okay, Jennifer, so that was consensus to leave it the way you have it designed.
Sounds good. Knowing that we have the option of, or the direction now that the building would get removed in some sort of fashion from the property. We do have 3 stalls here that are 90 degree perpendicular to Maple that go into what is Roots property. We had talked with Colin at the time at the public involvement meeting, and he was not opposed to working out some agreement between himself and the village for these stalls.
Great.
Jennifer, are those the ones that are on his deed restriction or his historic preservation designation?
Yes.
Do you need us
I think
to?
similar to Lure, if long as he's amenable to working with us and they stay public spots.
Yep.
Okay. Everybody's not, or I think we have consensus on that too.
Okay.
You okay with that, Mike?
Mhm.
Anything else, Jennifer?
Okay. We have the driveways to talk about. I know I've already eaten up about an hour of your time.
Jen, can I just ask a quick question? Sorry, I just want to revisit the timing thing we were talking about before.
Mhm.
I think you said that with 4 to 5 months to organize and get ready for the project, right? We would,
4 to
be- and then
4 to
get involved in summer lodging. Right?
Yeah, so 4 to 5 months for construction.
All right, 4 to 5 months for construction. Building in the summer is expensive, because yes, our lodging folks are not inclined to. And not to mention just, availability. So when would you suggest that I think you're talking about 27, right?
So I'm talking about a phased construction season. So the construction, we would go out for a bid late spring, early summer, get good pricing, allow WPS the time in spring, summer, fall, before Fall Fest to move their utilities. That's going to be a separate agreement between the village and WPS before they even begin working. And then the utility contractor for this project would be done either early fall before Fall Fest or after Fall Fest. Kind of leave it up to them for a schedule. And then in the spring, early summer of 27, then you would do the concrete work like your sidewalk, your curb and gutter, and then your roadway, so your asphalt pavement.
I don't know if that neighborhood is thinking this is coming in 26. Do they?
I think they do, yeah, I think they know that it's gonna be started in 26.
But if it's gonna move to 27, do we?
Well, there's
But it wouldn't
some-
move to 27, like a lot of digging would happen in 26. Just the actual pavement, it sounds like would be 27.
Yes.
Utility work would be late summer, okay.
I would say this too, Louise, as soon as we have a more definite schedule
Yeah,
from
that would go back,
Jennifer,
okay.
we would send that out to those people again to try and keep them in the loop.
Okay. Sorry, thanks, Jennifer.
No, you're good. That's important.
Okay.
Okay.
Driveways.
Yes. driveways. So I referenced the parking code from the village to kind of get an idea of the parking requirements or excuse me, the driveway with the requirements. Overall, you have a total of 30 parcels. Within that, you have 37 access points because you have some parcels that have more than one access point. There is one parcel that did not get analyzed because yes, they're on the corridor, but the access point's actually off of South Bay Shore Drive. I identified properties being either single family, so residential, or rental properties that are also kind of identified as single family homes, and then also businesses. And within that, single family residential homes, I have a range per code of 10 feet to 24 feet wide. Your commercial businesses are 24 to 35 feet wide. So with that information, I went through and looked at the dimensions at the right of way for each of the access points and identified if they were compliant or non-compliant. And the direction that I would need from you guys is, particularly on the non-compliant properties, what driveways may be considered an opportunity for, I don't know, whether you want to call it a variance or an exception, that terminology is up to you guys. But we can go through each of these properties line by line and discuss, or we can do it that way.
That's how I would like to do it, but first I have a question. How does Plan Commission get to weigh in on any of this? Is Parks making a determination on, let's say if we would allow somebody to have something that's not to code? How am I supposed to think about this, Julie?
I think that we should see how the conversation goes. I mean, if it's some. If we start talking about properties and they need some exception or something, we can kick that over to Plan Commission. If the conversation is, hey, for every driveway that's out there, that's at least 10 feet wide, yeah, Jennifer, just go ahead and put in the curbing for it. I mean, I would think that's well within the purview of the Parks Committee. If something's there, that's not a problem, let's put in the curbing for it.
Sure.
But those ones that are not,
Right, I was more concerned with the non-compliant, obviously.
Yeah.
With the non-compliant driveways, if they were non-compliant prior to the change in code, can we require them to change?
no, but it affects where we're putting our curbing. So if somebody has a non-compliant driveway that predated zoning, they're just gonna stay the way they are. We can't touch them.
Okay,
But now we're coming through and we're putting curbing, so let's say somebody has a driveway that's 50 feet wide and it can only be 20. Do we just run our curbing the way we're supposed to and all at once they're blocked out of that driveway?
Yes,
Those are the conversations we have to have.
I mean, they would have to flare out, they would be allowed to keep it, but the village would have to be following its own rules unless there was an exception granted or a variance given by the zoning board of appeals or something of that nature. Because that was really my first question on wouldn't our curb cuts for the driveways should correct deficiencies and overages? Kind of a general, not specific to any one place, but for the most part.
You're saying in general, cut the curb within the code. And if their driveway is smaller than that, the curb opening is bigger, and if the driveway is bigger than that, the curb opening is smaller.
I mean, in general.
is there any cost to the homeowner? Based on where they cut the curb? Because my worry is, I think we have to be careful if we mandate a change and require a resident to incur costs to make a change to their driveway if they were compliant at the time the driveway was installed.
I mean, with the village putting in curb and gutter, there's no cost to,
Yeah, I think we're okay.
Yeah.
But,
because all the
And-
taxpayers are paying for
yeah,
this
so
project.
there's there wouldn't be a cost. The issue is just as Jerry described, some openings are gonna be wider than if the current driveways, which is fine, they could repave and make their driveway wider. If it's too wide, when they repave, they'll make it a little narrower.
Yeah, because the amount of curb and cut doesn't change the cost to the homeowner, because we're not,
Yeah,
it comes out of their taxes, not. Hey, you've got 10 foot of curb cut, you have to pay.
Right,
and we really only have one commercial property where this is a big issue, where it's fairly wide open, is that correct? And the other ones are just a couple feet here and a couple feet there. Jennifer, is that correct?
Well, we're gonna go through them line by line.
There's a couple outliers.
Okay, so do you want to start with number 3? You want to go through the non-compliant ones? Is that what everybody wants to do? Might be more efficient. Is that okay? Everyone?
Mhm.
Okay.
Jennifer, are you gonna bring then the map up and zoom in on
Yes.
each? Okay, thank you.
Yes, I will. Okay, so I'll cover actually 2, 3, and 4 because it is all one property. They do have 3 access points. So bear with me, I'm gonna go back and forth. Okay, so the first 2, 3, and 4 is here. The number 2, I had noted is compliant. They have a just shy of 18-foot wide driveway. Number 4 is also compliant and noted as 6.3 feet wide driveway. Both of these driveways access 1 or 2 vacation rental units. Access 3, I noted as non-compliant. They have a driveway width of 68 feet. In my note, I do note that it is wider because it provides access to 7 off-site parking stalls.
Yeah, I would call it a driveway. It's parking. Okay.
So I'm just gonna jump in here, okay? So 2, 3, and 4 are all on one lot, so 2, 3, and 4 are all non-compliant. Because we look at the property, right? We know that, so I think we have to be a little strategic on how we accommodate this property. We know that there was a proposal to tear all these down and build something different there. So I think if we're going to start, if we allow various curb cuts for this number of driveways and with the driveways, we have to understand at some point, we're probably gonna make them close them all off if they do develop that part. I would think the plan commission would make them have a compliant lot when they rebuild.
So, right, now. Is it still being basically run as, I mean, cause Freddie sold it, I don't know who the new owners are. Are they running it as a motel?
My understanding, and I don't know this for certain, but what I am told, and I'm speaking with a builder, is it's a mix of short-term rentals and then long-term rentals out there.
Okay, but it has the look and feel of an old motel.
Correct.
And so old motels had all of the parking.
You just pulling in
You
upfront,
just-
that's what motel was, yeah.
Yeah, so. Because of that, I was okay with allowing it the way that it currently is. And not narrowing anything.
Do we know if they want that?
I don't.
Well, they own the property. They own property number 5 as well.
Well, because I would just hate to give a large variance for something. If that's not, like, I'd be amenable to variances if requested by the owner, but if they're like. No, we're not planning to use it like that, I'd hate to have a giant curb cut without.
But they may, Jerry, the problem is they may assume they are grandfathered because that property's been here way before our ordinance change. You know, somebody's gonna have to tell them, hey, look. They want this changed, And then they probably will ask for the variance.
And was that clear in the letter that was sent out, or?
The letter wasn't about the driveways.
Okay, it
though,
wasn't about
so-
the driveways. Got it.
Jennifer, is this, right in front of this property, is it the rolled curb? And the reason why I ask is, does it matter then if it's a rolled curb through the whole,
That's a good
across the whole front of the property?
So there would be a driveway curb cut whether there is a high curb or a roll curb. There's still depression with your rolled curb. To kind of listening to you guys talk, I do want to make sure I'm clear that this access here provides 7 stalls right from the street.
Right.
In the plans, is that rolled curb on that side of the street or not?
It would be rolled curb, and then where there's the driveway access to get to these stalls, it would be a curb cut.
Yeah, that sounds like a reasonable compromise, because rolled curb doesn't materially interfere with the spots. And if we just have a small cut in the rolled curb for a standard width driveway, then that it's compliant and still allows the usability.
It's the combination.
Do you follow me?
Yeah, I'm thinking about what that is, and I think that makes sense.
And it's kind of what's there now with, like, if you look at the Google Street View, the sidewalk runs and there's a cut in the sidewalk. But they can drive across the whole sidewalk. So I imagine, oops, I moved it. I imagine it would be rolled curb where the sidewalk is and then it opens the driveway.
Why don't we ask him where if he has plans for his property, where he'd want the driveway cut? And the rest of it is just rolled curb.
Yeah. So that solves that.
Jennifer, is that roll? So you've got the picture, so you know this property. That rolled curb wouldn't prevent a low profile car from making a turn and parking right in front of their unit, would it?
So even with a rolled curb, depending on how you guys tell me to move forward, if you want a compliant 35-foot wide driveway, that would be cut down to allow all vehicles or most vehicles to access that driveway. Now, if you want a 35-foot driveway curb cut, then the rest of it would be mountable, which not every car can traverse. Then you're blocking off a handful of their parking stalls as it sits currently today.
My suggestion would be to talk to the property owner because they may feel they have a grandfather position there.
Well, they do, and we're not gonna mess with that. We just wanna know where do we put the curb cuts.
Right, and knowing what he might do with it, and because this particular person owns number 5 as well, but they are in compliance, so.
But there is a driveway there.
Right, but they're in compliance, so we
That was my
maybe,
grandma's house.
okay, but I mean, I'm wondering if he's gonna do anything, he owns from 42 down.
So I'm just trying to get an answer to my question. I might not be understanding. I'm looking at the section in the middle where the parking spots are perpendicular to the rental units. And they're right off the street. Are we gonna change that, or are they gonna have access to pull into those spots the same way they can today? If we're limiting their ability to pull into the spots the way they can today, I would suggest we talk to the owner.
I think what we're saying is there'll be rolled curb and the driveway opening covering those 7 spots. And the conversation with the owner would be, where do you want the driveway opening versus rolled curb?
With the rolled curb, they'd still be able to access those parking spots.
Okay, was that what Jennifer explained? Because I thought with the rolled curb, she said there was a limitation.
She said most vehicles.
Most, not your low profile would probably have, like a Corvette might have a trouble
That one
accessing
goes to
your.
the driveway opening.
Well, then it is a taking then, if you're not able to access that anymore.
The other alternative is you just put all the curbing around their existing driveways, and when they go to redevelop, they have to go and rebuild or they have to bring it all into compliance and basically rebuild that part of our road, but
I
then we
think,
have
well, I mean, maybe
stars.
Jennifer knows, but they have some rights. The owner has some rights here that we
Right,
have to be
and that-
sensitive to.
And that's what I'm talking about. The other alternative is to say, let's just not mess with it, just put all our curbing around it.
Oh,
And when they go
okay.
to rebuild it someday, then they
change it.
have to bring they have to pay
That
for
may
our
be the
curb.
better way to do it. Okay, I didn't understand.
Although,
Sorry.
and
And
that's
we
what
should
we
probably-
suggested at the beginning.
Yes, I think you did. I'm sorry I didn't get it very fast.
Okay, so let's move on to number 6.
Okay, so hold on. Curb cuts for the entire width of the 7 stalls in the middle.
We're gonna, yep, they're saying do the curb cuts around every driveway. And, when they go to rebuild, they're gonna have to basically rebuild our road and put our curb cuts in, put the curbing in for us.
Okay,
Since that could incur owner expense,
It'll incur a lot of owners.
might that be something we wanna ask? Like, do you want a compliant driveway width and rolled curb, or do you want us to leave it for you to fix later? Cause they probably have an opinion.
I think that should be done.
So who would own, so they'll probably kind of waterfall a lot of these non-compliance. Who owns that conversation?
Well, who's reaching out? Jen?
It would be either Jen or your new administrator, but I think you have to agree on that first.
the village would be the one determining if it's non-compliant, compliance, and issuing any of the potential exemptions or variances. So that communication would come from the village with support and documentation as needed from us.
Okay, so it doesn't make sense to go through each individual one right now, and we're gonna wanna reach out to them and have this conversation first.
Yep.
If we're all on board for that, correct?
I think you're right.
I
Does it
mean,
make a
Well,
difference
no,
whether it's
I was
illegal?
okay with that because of the type of business that it was. And it still has that feel of an old motel where you pulled up. That doesn't mean that I can't remember. That I was gonna feel the same way about every other one that was not compliant. But that one, because of the type of business it was, I was okay with that.
okay, so if I'm hearing this correctly, we're reaching out to this individual. And then, correct, I'm happy to and give them. And that needs to come from the village of Sister Bay, which makes sense. And then with information from Ariel. Right? Okay. We're on to, I think, number 6, which is basically lure.
Yep, so 6 I had identified as non-compliant because their entire frontage does not have any sort of curbing. It all acts as like a parking driveway area. I do note that they do have a parking lot off of South Bay Shore Drive.
And from the re-engineering we were talking about earlier, a chunk of that parking lot becomes parking spots with curbs potentially 90 degrees, right?
Potentially or parallel, depending on how that agreement between
Right.
Jayco and the village goes.
We're reaching out to them anyway to see if they want to grant us an easement of, I think you said 10 to 15 feet, right?
Right.
And would the idea be standard curb or rolled curb for the rest of it with cut, or is that what you're asking, Jennifer?
So it would be rolled curb if you have parallel and likely standard if you have perpendicular.
So they don't run off.
Mhm, mhm.
And then
Yeah,
there's,
more of a barrier and more because with the go back to this concept here. Here you would have monobulk because the curb would be on the inside between your parking stall and your drive lane. If you put the parking more on an angle or perpendicular, I would put the curb, the full head curb on adjacent to their property. and full head curb because that would capture the water and provide like a stop for your wheels.
And so there we would also want to ask, where they would like their curb cut to be for their driveway.
Yeah, because they've got their dumpsters back there, but they also have some, I think, staff that parks back there.
Do you think, and I'm sorry, I probably should have been better prepared on this part of it, but do you think we should be looking at, because we may treat them different, is this a grandfathered driveway or situation? Or is this just a violation that kept growing over time?
This was the Catholic Church,
So this was always spread out like that?
because that was the entrance to the church.
Okay,
As I said, my grandmother lived across the street, I lived in that church. And, you know, that's where the steps were, that's where the entrance was.
okay, so
Now
on
the
this one,
entrance is a totally different place.
Just make sure what I heard you say, is this is the Catholic Church, so you were saying this is a long time use, not that it was a Catholic church isn't the relevant bit of information. The fact that it was a grandfather, that it was a long-standing use is the relevant bit of information, right? Saying we're looking at this differently because it's been there a long time, not because of who it is. Correct?
Correct.
Okay,
That's the way I know.
Yes and no.
okay, so is this one
Because
that,
a church was, it was totally different. I mean, because the entrances and exits have swapped over the years. So if that was still the entrance to the property, that would be a whole different scenario, but it's the back of the building. And it's messy and dirty and dumpy looking, and their dumpsters aren't contained. And it's an eyesore, I think, for everybody else, you know, in that neighborhood. So whatever we can do, I think, to clean that up will be a good thing.
Denise, can you remember when they got their change of use to become a restaurant, or do you recall if there was anything that told them they had to clean all that up and?
Gary Guterman had it first.
Yeah, it wasn't them.
It was not them.
It was the Mission Grill, right? Or was it before then?
It was something different before. Well, the Gutermans had it. It was more of a fifties thing, and then they changed it into the Mission. Finer dining.
Because
Okay.
that's something to consider, I think, if they were, when there was a change of use, if they were told to fix it and they didn't,
I don't think we know that.
I think we'd have to look in a file.
Mhm.
So in this one, do you wanna, if the file shows that this was never addressed, that we asked the property owner where they would want that driveway cut?
Yeah.
Okay, everybody okay with
I
that?
would want to ask them that, yeah. Okay, number 7, Jennifer.
Yep. Okay, number 7. So you have 7, 8, and 9. This is your Bluffside Rentals. 3 access points, 7, 8, and 9. 7. I have is non-compliant. They have 31 feet of width for a rental property. This goes to I think it's a building, a home style. 8, I have as compliant. It's just over 14 feet wide. That goes to a building as well. And then 9, also rental property compliant, just under 17 feet wide next to a garage.
So I can shed a little light on this one. So this is a non-conforming multiple occupancy development, which says we can't touch the driveways or do anything with it. So what's there is what is grandfathered on that property. So would we just want the curb cuts to go around what's grandfathered?
And so the gravel and the grass we can't touch either.
Right, he
But
has a
there's
lot
no
of little,
asphalt.
correct, he has like
And we're
little
putting
gravel.
in new road, new storm sewer.
Our apron, I guess. Yeah, the way the code is written because, or in statutes is because that's a non-conforming use, and in this case, it's a residential one. This one I know for sure is grandfather, that we can't do anything with it.
Just
Can
wondering
we,
what that
can
grass-
we put a concrete apron within the villages right away
Can we put a concrete apron in the villages right away?
for their access?
We could,
Okay, does that help us with the gravel, I guess?
this property is also for sale, so we don't know the future of this property either, so I mean.
Who knows, by the time we get to the point of construction.
Right, it could change.
So I think a compliant code cut against whatever driveway-ish thing is there and move on.
Okay, the next one is the Village of Sister Bay, 11 and 12. So I don't know, is that,
I think that goes away.
yeah, I mean, that.
So that one, yep, 11 and 12 are mute now with the building being removed.
Okay.
All right, you have 15. So now we're on Maple. 15 is here. I'm just under 10 feet wide for your driveway access. Minimum is 10.
So
So
maybe we should cut it at 10, so
Cut it at
he's
10.
encouraged to have a fine driveway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree. Nate, Mike, you okay with that?
Are these numbers, just so I understand, these numbers don't correlate to these parcel-like numbers, do they?
No, they
No, they do.
correlate to this.
Yeah, they're on this chart, but I was looking at the previous page.
So they match like this.
They match the map.
They do, okay, so we're on
15.
15,
Mhm.
and it says Bluffside Rentals. But the owner of 15 is Gene Sundstrom?
he doesn't own it anymore.
He doesn't own it.
Oh, that's
You
all.
just have to look at the
Okay.
number.
Look at the
Yeah, I
number and
think-
look at the parcel ID. Some of these owners have changed.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I just wanted to make
Yeah, yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
So that's only a 10-foot wide driveway, and that's the way we want to cut it.
It's not quite 10, we're saying let's cut it at 10 to encourage him to be compliant.
I mean, it's not much to worry. It's
And
not.
we don't want to put it below 10.
No.
Okay, we got a nod, Jennifer, so that one goes in at 10 feet.
Okay, sounds good. And the next one, we have Larson DC Properties on 16 and 7. 16 is a loading dock. And then 17, you have public parking. I guess I wouldn't really consider these as driveways per se on 17. 16 could be considered a driveway with a loading dock there.
So what, there's no width on there right now, so what, I'm not sure what we would do.
It's just asphalt right now. There's no curbing or anything.
But when
Well,
you
we-
combine the allowed business curb cut with the residential curb cut together at the property line, they should meet or exceed that asphalt strip, right? If you're gonna measure from the property line into where the parking starts for the loading dock, that's probably within, I'm guessing, the business allowed driveway access. And the remaining asphalt would be within the residential allowed, I would think. So just a single curb cut and then it's open into those two entrances and the parking.
So whatever the width of the loading dock is,
I think Jennifer's saying it's difficult because. The loading dock asphalt goes to the property line, which connects to the asphalt for the,
so it's only kind of here,
yeah, so.
and then it's just open.
Yeah,
Jennifer, if the curb cut was at the property line, between him and number 15, and then you had, a little bit of curb before you hit that 10-foot curb cut for number 15, How much room does that give you between those two curb cuts?
I don't think it gives you much of anything. The driveway for 15 is kind of, I guess, shared, or like this is all pavement right here. So
So
the way
should,
it looks to operate is like it would just be a 10-foot curb cut here and then a curb cut. You just continue the curb cut on 16.
I was gonna say, should that just all be wide, open asphalt?
That's what I would say, just a single curb cut on.
Yeah.
The start of 15's driveway, and then it's just open
Right,
through the
yeah.
businesses and into
It's kind
the
of-
parking.
It is now.
Does that make sense, Jennifer?
Yep. Okay. I skip 18 through 21. Those are all compliant. So 22.
So this is one where, his, children park on the road. As you can see, he does have room there. He's got width for 4 vehicles there.
Within the public right away. It'd be encroaching onto the road if you're trying to park 4 or 5 vehicles.
So he just doesn't put a driveway in there.
He's in the block. of
Is he? Oh,
purposes,
okay,
Yeah.
20 feet off the road,
we're talking about the Lindenberg house, right?
yeah,
Number
Yep.
22.
At this point, right?
yeah, that's my
Yes.
cousin.
I don't know, you probably can't see it from their mic, but
Yeah, the street bill, yeah, that's what I should be looking at, cause this
yeah,
stuff,
the Google Street View is incredibly useful for.
Yeah.
visualize.
There's like a 2-tiered retaining wall, stone retaining wall with some landscaping here. Coupled angled, makeshift angled stalls here, and they kind of use this too here.
That plan to be rolled curb or standard curb for everywhere there's not driveway there? Or everywhere there's not a curb cut?
Rolled curb.
I would give them the standard driveway with cut for residential, and then the rolled curb means he can still access that other area.
But is there enough width?
Jennifer, by any
Yeah.
chance, does the engineering show even how wide his driveway is?
42 feet.
It's on the chart.
But I mean, where the real driveway is or should be. I mean, it's that wide right now because they're just kind of pulling up, right? It's kind of.
Right. I don't know if you can really consider this a driveway because they're just accessing it as like off-street parking per se, not really a driveway.
The Razor house sticks out farther. If you. But I don't know the depth.
I know it well. My son lived there.
Oh, shoot, now it's doing the same thing that it,
You touch the screen.
You just look at the street view,
yeah.
I can see it.
But it just depends on who parks there.
Right, so that's sticking out farther, so there is some room here, as long as that's not in the right of way. But how much room that is, I don't know.
Isn't part of the Razor house in the right of way?
Yeah, that apartment's in the runaway. That's where my son lived. The garden apartment. Yeah, well, I mean, it's an oldest.
isn't this one where we would ask the owner?
I think in that whole area, you just put your curb around what's existing out there.
And it is rolled curb, so it's not like aggressive.
I mean,
Stop.
let's face it.
But if you do that, don't we have to guarantee that there's enough room? Because this is the property. And this is the road. Okay, and the Razor house sticks out here. So if you put, let's say. You put. Curb is the blue line, just making this up. Well, what if this isn't, this area here. Is not wide enough for him to roll over, so then his, one tire is here and his other tire is here, as he's parking this way, I'm saying. Don't we need to know?
I think that for those, cause those are, I think, our biggest challenge, I think for those, Jennifer, if they've done the surveying work out there, do they have the surveying work on those properties?
Yes.
I think that those three should be referred to the plan commission to look at the survey and say, what can we do there? I mean, it could come back to this committee too, I'm just trying to figure out how to speed it up a little bit.
Well, I'm just making sure that, if you're saying just, put in rolled curb, well, that may or may not. That could be more detriment. To anybody there than.
That's why I think you have to look at exactly what they're using right now.
Because they park on an angle now,
Right,
they are not parking parallel.
they might need to.
They'll need to park perpendicular. You have 19 feet from your back of curb to the front of the stone wall.
So they could just pull in at 90-degree angles and not have an issue.
Unless they're
Correct.
extended cab, double.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Like.
Well,
in the pic-
we're all getting
Yeah.
bigger cars, but
Village.
We
Yeah.
require the stalls to be 19 feet long, so they're right there. Okay, so they have room to pull in at 90-degree angle and be compliant.
And that would get them two vehicles, right? If you said there were 40 feet,
right now it's 42 feet.
barely. Not a lot of wiggle room to get in and out if you had two bigger vehicles.
What's the max residential code cut?
24.
Is there still on 22 yet?
Yeah.
Is there anything softer than the rolled curb where you get the swale for the water, but we'd essentially be leaving it the way it is now?
Your driveway curb cut is essentially what it would be. There's still enough like an inch lip that it would still traverse the water on the curb or the gutter.
That's our biggest
Portion.
concern here, isn't it? Is keeping the water going in the right direction.
Well, I-
Yes, in this intersection, we would have a series of inlets here to capture the water coming down Bluffside and Maple before it gets to this property.
I think with 22 and 23, I think you just put your curb around what's existing. And, because they need the room, they don't have a choice.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just trying to make sure we don't limit them.
I don't think it limits them, like, I think it gives them like, hey, just use it all,
But
you know,
that,
you
then
have
that,
forever.
then that's fine. That's what I'm trying to get to also. I just don't understand. I looked at some pictures of rolled curb versus standard curb versus other configurations. I just wanted to understand that.
So are we good with the Lindenbergs?
Sure.
And the razor.
And
And the razor is kind of for one thing, right?
That Jennifer for those two?
Yes,
So I see in Google, should we not be addressing the dumpsters from the Razor building that are sitting out in the middle of?
Probably. Should really be addressing the Razor building, but that's.
That's less design of the street. a separate
Is that-
code
was that
compliance
purpose of-
issue.
I'm asking our zoning administrator, should we not be addressing that? Please write that down for Carla.
I will say this, we have tried to address violations at the Razor House and we have gotten no response to several letters.
Okay.
I will put it on the list for,
Plan commission discussion, if need be.
Okay, Chad Kadanko.
Yep, number 24, I have it noted as residential. Current width is just under 26 feet. So right now, about 2 feet beyond the maximum 24 feet for residential.
So you'll just give them the 24 cut and.
So if you give him the 24 cut, no matter who it is, and he's got 26, then part of it's gonna have curb
There'll be
That
some
used-
descending curbs.
that used to
and,
be driveway and 2 feet of it.
Jennifer, that, now you're at the right of way, what happens? His does narrow though as he pulls into the lot, doesn't he?
Yeah, it would just taper. The reason why it's 26 is 'cause it's such a, sorry, word. The reason why it's 26 is because there's like there's a flare on either side.
So
So
kinda
it does skinny it up as you get into his property.
brings it more into compliance for him.
Okay,
Okay, so 24 for his.
Oh, boy.
26 and 26.
26 and 27, you have Parkview Beach Cottage on the corner of Parkview Lane and Parkview Drive. 26 is a asphalt pad here. 27 is another asphalt pad off of Parkview Lane. 26 is 36 feet wide, 27 is 26 feet wide.
This is one where I suggest we reach out to him because we've had discussions about compliance out there. And what needs to be done, so I think we should see what he wants to do.
And that's Kim.
Yeah.
Yes,
Is that triangle part of the 26 and 27?
that's village property. We acquired that when we did Mill Road.
Okay.
Okay, Jennifer, 28.
No driveway at all.
Yeah, 28 is no driveway. This is a property owner that did provide the village a location of where he wants his driveway cut.
Yeah, so he and I have had conversations, Jennifer, I think had some too, where he said, I don't have one, will you be putting one in? How wide would it be? We went through the setbacks to make sure that if we put a curb cut in there, it would all meet code. And I think we worked through all of that.
Okay, good.
And Jennifer, you have all of that, correct?
Yes, I do. Yep. All right. 30 and 31. So Parkview Lane, the village's parking lot, and then we have this, I think there's condos in the back and then like a marketplace up front. I put these as a rental property
Yeah.
for 30. And then a business for 31, because that's off of Parkview Lane. So 30, you kind of have 2 access points with garages. And I have that at 70 feet wide.
So this is a property that was recently built. It was referred to me as a violation and I looked in the folder at one time. I think that I have to go back or your administrator has to go back and look in the file and see what is supposed to be out there. And it just has to be brought into compliance. It's only a couple of years old.
It's
Is it-
more than a couple years old.
Yeah, it's like 5 years. But is it because that's a 2-car garage? Is that why it's so wide?
Let me.
There's
tell
there's like a a garage here and a garage here, and they're both two-car
On both
garages.
sides. They're both two-car garages, right, they're big.
Yep. And there's like a little landscaping section here.
I think the
I lost
non-compliance is from the curb all the way to the parking lot is just all asphalt, right?
Right, which was never, I was around, Dave Lena was president at the time, Zeke Jackson was administrator. There was, our stop sign was never supposed to be in asphalt at that intersection. That corner was never supposed to be asphalt, which they utilize as additional parking.
There is parking there.
So please tell me that the village is going to correct this, because you will see that the plans that the plan commission approved are not what is built.
I remember pulling this file maybe about 6 months ago. I remember we wrote there. I think the curb has to be put to force it into compliance.
So that would mean it would have to be, Jennifer, am I right, it's, they would each have to be 35 feet, or just one at 35?
Well, would this be considered residential?
Well,
Each
there's
unit
two
residential?
garages are.
Well,
There's two of them.
they're both short-term rentals, the whole building is it's a rental building, but
No, there's businesses in front though.
there are
I think
businesses
it's
on the,
what Jennifer-
right, you're right, it's commercial on the bottom, but the commercial. I don't know if those commercial spaces use those garages or not, I
No.
don't think they do.
They do not.
Those
They are-
garages are used for the rentals up top.
I would think you give them the width of the garage,
Yeah,
or they're old for each of the garages.
the two 24-foot residential cuts.
Yeah.
And then a cut for, cause you can get into the Sister Bay parking lot there too, right?
No.
No, the access is off of Mill.
Okay, so then it'd just be two 24-foot residential cuts.
Everybody okay with that? 224 residential cuts?
And so that means that that asphalt, we will remove that asphalt on that corner.
I have to go back and look at it, Denise, but when that was brought up about 6 months ago, I pulled that file and looked at it. I was really surprised to see that that was all entirely on their property. I'd have to look at the file again. It wasn't the violation I was expecting it to be, but I can't remember the details on it. I just remember pulling the file like, how'd this thing even get approved like this? So, I mean, we can look at
Well,
that
it's,
file again.
right, and it's. The village's sidewalk that we put in was, the building was put in the wrong spot also.
Yeah, and I mean, that sidewalk is all on private property.
Which sidewalk? In front?
Yes.
Not sidewalk, I mean, stop sign.
Oh.
Is there a stop sign there?
Yeah, it's one-
Yeah, it was all
Yeah, I can
pretty
hear.
messed up piece of property.
Okay, so 224s and then,
224s and leave it at that, Jennifer.
and then revisit the.
Yep, and then, so 31 is access to parallel parking off of Parkview.
Wait,
Which-
31?
Yep.
It's the side of the building, it's not the driveway.
That, yeah, along Parkview Lane.
Yeah, so that's 86 feet from Parkview to Mill.
86 for just the opening for the parking stalls that they have here.
I'm sorry, okay.
Yeah, there's curb and gutter and sidewalk up in this area, so it stops up in here.
So why would there be any curb cut there at all, Jennifer? Why wouldn't we just,
Right,
why, if that's public parking parallel to the street, why would it not just be a curb with parallel parking? Why would there be any cut at all?
For drainage, if we need to put some sort of curb drainage here to get the water to flow.
Cause of course, this is the property we're talking about where we have the issues where they're kind of taking as much asphalt as they can find, I think, for parking. I mean, if there's gonna be a curb there with parallel parking, why would there be, again, I don't see why we'd have any cut at all
Yeah, cause that residence got its cut for the garage.
Yeah, they have their cut for the garage already, so it should just be like any other on-street parking, I would think.
What alongside,
On the-
at Parkview Lane?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I'm fine with that unless it's really a drainage problem, but I think the grading there, it goes down.
yeah, there's like a ditch
Yeah.
there, isn't there?
Yeah, there's there's an inlet here at the intersection.
Yeah.
Or were you thinking, Jennifer, like it cuts in a little to have your parking? I just don't understand why we'd treat that one any different.
Yeah, so we would have a curb between your road and your parking. So your parking is here.
A rolled curb,
Rolled curb.
Hmm.
Otherwise,
Versus-
if we don't put a curb here, we should make sure that this lane is tipped this way and then the parking's tipped this way so that the water can flow and not go into their building.
Yeah,
That's a slope.
I think I'd rather do that than put a soft curb there.
Yeah, I don't understand why we would. So where that dash line is, Jennifer, there is the dash line, the property line, there is
Yep.
some type of curbing there. There would be some type of curbing.
There would be some way to delineate the road drainage from the parking and the building.
but is there a curb between the parking and the building?
No,
Should there be curb that the wider dash lines, shouldn't that just be curb?
if we want to put curb behind the parking, yes, that can be curb.
I think that makes more sense to me.
I think it would look better too, because otherwise it's just cars kind of pulling over on the side of the road, isn't it? And pretty soon we've got gravel marks, tire marks,
Yeah.
weeds coming up between
Yeah,
the
those
gravel.
places are always taken up. They're
I like
all
that.
Used.
Yeah, it's that,
Okay.
So on the east side of the parking spaces, the 4 or whatever that are there
Is a curb.
is a curb.
there's a curb, and then if there has to be cuts for drainage, like a foot or whatever, certainly cut those in.
There's a sidewalk here, so there'll be like a little curb cut here for the sidewalk or some sort of ramp feature. And then there's a sidewalk down here too that we would tie into.
So it goes building, sidewalk,
Well, it's not really a sidewalk, it's an entrance. It's a side entrance.
Sidewalk is perpendicular to Parkview Lane. There's
So-
2 doors.
But Denise is right, it's not a sidewalk, like people wouldn't walk down it as a sidewalk, she's right, it's an
Correct.
entrance into the building.
Correct,
Yep.
like a stoop. Yep.
So basically, there'll be curb there and cuts for the sidewalks, and that's it.
Yeah.
And if between the parking and the street, you need to do some sort of elevation for water flow, you will.
Yes.
Mike, is that, you okay with that?
Yep.
Nate? Okay, Jennifer, that's consensus. Let's move on.
Okay. Thank you. Last one. 37 at Grassi's. We've discussed this already, but one way off of 42, and then there's a 30 or 14 feet wide access onto this alleyway. Minimum for commercial, I think is, if I remember right, it's 15. What did I
Yeah, but
have
that's
here?
kind of a high special case because it's
24.
really direct. Only commercial access, right?
No, it's not, right?
and it's a one-way street. So I would just cut it to match the existing there, even if it's a little below the minimum.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way you're gonna get compliance done. That makes sense, Jennifer?
Yes, I'll keep it at existing.
Everybody all right with that one?
How wide is that, Ellie? I'm just
14.
curious. 14.
14. Minimum for businesses 24.
Curb
Curb
stop?
stop. Why is it in the middle of the road?
Yeah.
Percent of bus revenue. Percent curb stop.
I'll ask Megan.
Okay.
Okay.
Taking, but
So
good. Thank
That
you.
is a summary of all the non-compliant noted driveway accesses.
Any other questions you need answered from us, Jennifer?
No, I think we're good. In regards to sending out letters for locations of curb cuts, did we agree the village? Or
The
me?
village will, yeah, the village will do that. What type of time frame are you looking for answers back on those, Jennifer?
To me, that's more of a final design kind of issue. Probably within the next 3 months, 2 months.
All right,
Jennifer, thanks very much. You did great work.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
thanks,
You bet.
Jennifer.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you.
Oh, I've done that.
Okay, yeah, we did. Okay, moving on to item 5B, concession stand restroom discussion alternatives.
Okay, so we need, we put it out for bid, bids were too high, then we thought we were gonna have volunteers. That didn't work out, they in turn gave us a bid, again, too high, can't accept it anyway, because it wasn't done during the bid process. So the question is, what do we do at this point?
So, I did a little bit of work. I did call the Community Foundation. So we signed the Community Investment Fund grant, which is, a joint effort with Community Foundation and Destination Door County. And we signed that document in February of 25. So it'll be a year in February of 26. And they treat those grants a little differently than they would a normal grant. It won't expire in a year. So they would give you a little bit more leniency. So first of all, we just know that and know that we have some time. Okay. But it sounds like we're gonna have to. We got kind of 3 choices. First of all, just remember that the grant that we went out for is a grant to build restrooms. So as much as we may wanna do something different, the grants for building a restroom. And so the bids that we got before were right around 200,000, I think, something like that. And we thought it was too high, we didn't accept them. So now we either forego the project, give the grant back, which I think maybe we could do better than that. Or we look for another grant and then send out another RFP. Because we thought they were too high, but based on other research that we've done I don't think we're gonna get a bid less than a couple $100,000, which may sound like insanity for us, but like a lot, but that's what it's gonna be without heat, because thinking about heating it and making them available year round would have been even more prohibitive.
Well, the reason why it's high is because we did it, no, I'm sorry, winterized it, set up for winterization.
We set it up, but we didn't winterize it.
So I think we just start all over. I think we return this money. It's nowhere near the amount of money we get. And we reapply
Well, we can reapply later.
With
We can reapply any,
with a larger ask.
we did ask for more. We didn't ask for 75,000. We asked for 150.
I know, but that's
We have
still wouldn't have
100.
been enough.
It
now we
wouldn't
need
have
to
been.
ask for two
Right.
or 2.25 or whatever.
But you still never know what you're gonna get, so. Whatever, what comes first, the grant or the bid or the bid or the grant, but. Right now, I think we kind of know where they're gonna come in, and a year later, or what would be maybe 6, 8 months later, they're not gonna come in less.
Yeah, well, maybe we get a bigger grant, though, now we at least know that we need to ask for a much larger grant.
I don't even know if they do it on a percentage basis, to be honest. I mean, I'm not quite sure. Hold on. And so, I don't know, but anyway, we just have to decide, first of all, we want these restrooms, and what's the best way to get them built? Or is there an alternative? Ellie, did you have something to say?
No.
Oh.
no,
Okay. Never mind, all right. I'm at kind of a loss.
I mean, the topic came up as a request from the Bays because they needed restroom facilities for their games. We thought we had an alternative that wouldn't cost the village a prohibitive amount of money with the
Yeah.
grant that
Yeah.
obviously didn't pan out. I think unless we can find a grant that would do it, I wouldn't be in favor of just spending the money.
Right, and I mean, like, if you look at other places to get grants, there are not a lot out there that will give you 100,000. There just aren't, and I think what the impetus of it was as well as Colberg got, what did Colberg get, 120? Something like that, they got restrooms for but their facility was also, they were the need was greater. And what their existing sports complex is not ours, ours is a little bit, so there's a lot of things that play into that kind of stuff.
I make a motion, we return the grant and reapply to them and others that will fund restaurants.
Second, third.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? No nays. Next. Okay, thank you for being so oh, John has already left. Sorry, John, you're here all by yourself now.
It's still there.
John has conveniently left you, John. Isn't that interesting? So Chris Kindle, Market requests Parks and Streets Department assistance.
Well, first of all, I want to express our gratitude for all the financial support you have given to the Historical Society over the years. I mean, we have really benefited greatly from your support, and we appreciate that. John and I are here to talk about this coming year's Chris Kindle Market. 5 years ago, I don't think any of us thought that this would be as successful a venture as it has turned out to be. And so what we were looking for is some help from the village to put up parking signs along the roadways to keep it safe and secure. The last thing we want is our visitors to be walking along the roadways with ice and snow. And the last year, I think, was probably one of our most successful years in controlling parking along there, although it is a constant battle. But the roadway along Fieldcrest was, I think, well controlled. We had a little bit of conflict along Highway 57, but that actually was much better. So what we're asking for is for your help to put up signage, no parking signage along Fieldcrest and the adjacent country lane to keep parking out of there. I think we've done our best to transport people to and from the remote parking lots, and that's been successful. We've also been successful in having parking adjacent to Time Restaurant, which is quite frankly our parking, but we have used that this last year for additional parking adjacent to our lot. And with that parking, they literally have direct access to our property. And I don't know if you've been around recently, but we have now regraded the access to our parking at the Little Sister Barn. So there's a direct connection. And we plan to light that this year for safety purposes. But this is all about safety. And we've just recently got a wonderful grant to redo our paving on the property itself to make it more wheelchair accessible. And so that's going on right now. If you've seen the grading, site grading work that's going on there right now. We're installing a geotech grid on most of our pathways to make it wheelchair accessible.
Good.
And to eliminate the rampways that we've had to some of our historic buildings.
Okay, so, do you mind if we just ask, John, you conveniently left, so now that you're back, do you have anything else to add? Otherwise, I was gonna ask Eric to just give us a little bit of insight into the work they did, how much time it took and that kind of stuff.
No, I'm sure
Okay.
John just covered it fine. so.
Okay,
Before we ask Eric, can I just
sure,
get something
of
clarified?
course.
So John Nelson,
Yes,
you had asked that we help stake along the roads again, run the ropes, bring in picnic tables and help with all that like we did last year.
yes.
But John, you just said to help put up no parking signs. So those are two different things. So I just want to make sure we're
Well-
all on the same page with what the ask
I think what
is.
John was referring to was the parking signs we've been putting on Country Lane, Fieldcrest,
Wait,
Glen Ridge.
staking?
The rope.
You mean the
Stake,
rope? the
staking
stake?
ropes, but there's
Staking
times
ropes.
that go with them.
That's what you mean, right,
I
John?
just
Yeah.
assumed
Okay,
that
just-
that's what they
Yeah.
meant, so.
Because otherwise, you know, we're talking big 4x4 posts with white signs, just so we're all on the same.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and we do have a request in for that with the highway department, I think.
I did ask well,
Now, this is for 57, this isn't
It is
for.
for 57.
Okay,
I haven't, just real quick, I have not heard back, but I think at this point you gotta ask the town of Liberty Grove, John, what's going on with that?
Yeah.
so it's two different locations, it's the three, village roads, and then it's 57. Okay, so we have a history of doing this, so Eric, you wanna give us just a little brief history of
Yeah, so
what we did?
I
and
think
how
what was
long
it
took?
about 3 years ago now, when Dan Klansky was around, there was a concern raised about parking on Fieldcrest and Country and Highway 57. He said, why don't you go out there and try to make it safer type of thing. Well, I think I reached out to John, and then he had his guys, his volunteer guys, go out there the first year using village-owned equipment to go out there, stake, run the ropes, you know, because this wasn't a village event. So we really wanted to limit staff's time partaking in it. We were concerned with the safety aspect on the roadway. Last year, John reached out, he's like, hey, Eric, you know, we were able to do it, but, you know, my volunteers are, you know, getting up there in age. There was a concern, like, it was stressful for them. Do you think you can go out now and kind of handle this? So we said, sure, but I think the agreement at the time was, as long as there's like more of a transition for you guys to start taking this over, because this is not a village event type thing. We're not involved. And in the past, we've kind of moved away from other non-village events. The cherry drop would be a good example of that. But, you know, they came back this year, they're like, hey, can you do the same kind of thing again? And I responded to them being, if this is going to be an every year request, we better get it in front of the committee so we can have a discussion about it to see if you want this to start, if you want my staff to, you know, partake in setup, take down, you know, cover, because we did have damage out there last year because it is during the snow season, so
Yep.
the snow plow went through, knocked a bunch of it over, so then staff had to go back out there, pick it all up, untangle it, and get it back up there, because I think it's like a 3-weekend event and everything like
It
that.
is, yeah.
So the understanding is that, yeah, we were willing to help at the time, but we thought that they would handle more of it down the line, you know, make the investments in your picnic tables, make the investments in your barricades, and try to seek out younger volunteers. Obviously, you know, that takes time, so, you know, we can do it. I mean, we are up against, you know, our backs are up against the wall with, you know, we got what? 19 days to get Christmas set up right now. And we're down a guy this year, so we're gonna juggle and see how that works. We need to get moved in still. I think setting Fieldcrest up in Country took about day and a half, 2 days to do, you know?
And
It-
Flint Ridge as well, right?
Yeah, so it's not like staff time, it's the time aspect that I value the most. And then, you know, I'm willing to help, you know, if you guys decide you wanna do it. As long as there might be an understanding that down the line, you know, okay. This year you guys purchased picnic tables, so we're not having to drop 4 or 6 picnic tables off the following year again, so it's just a time saver. The next year you guys buy your own barricades, so we're not having to, you know, and then the following year you guys work on getting younger volunteer staff and your own road equipment to install that, so, you know, I can see like this year we help, but there's gotta be some kind of progression since this really isn't the village's, you know, event, is a private event. And in the past, we have moved back from non-village events like the charity drop, where we're on private property delivering a cherry, you know, that's something that it's frowned upon to do. Like, we're going onto their property to deliver certain items. So it's not about unwillingness to help. I think, you know, the original intent was that we're trying to buy them time to then figure this out and do it themselves. Maybe they just need more time, or maybe you guys view it as a different way and it's like, no, Parks Department just gets involved in this now.
I
So
think last year,
that's kind of my thought.
I think last
on
year
this.
too, the Historical Society agreed to pay for the time too, if I remember right.
I believe. it was.
What I recall was last year that was waived, but going forward, we would have to pay for it.
I think that was on the bus.
That was the bus.
Was
The
that the
bus,
bus?
yeah.
That was the bus.
No, I thought that there were some undesignated funds that, cause I was making.
Yeah, that was,
An
that
issue
that was
about
the
some-
bus,
was it
we
still
used
the
that
bus?
for the bus.
Oh,
So 2 days is 16 hours roughly? For how many,
Well,
16 hours
you
times how
got
many
the
people?
whole crew out there basically, yeah.
And how many people?
So that would be, four full-time guys.
4 full-time guys times 2 days is 8 guys times, 16 hours. Right,
So the staff can fit it in, but it is a stress time of year.
Yeah,
What you're
this is
emphasizing.
our busiest, I mean, cause as soon as Fall Fest ends, then we have to, you know,
Yeah.
you get a week to exhale, you're putting all this stuff away from summer and then bang, you're right there in Christmas, November 1st hits. So, I mean, it's just a nonstop. And then on top of that, we're trying to move in to the new facility as well.
yeah, there's 17 days before
Yeah,
capture the spirit.
right, and we, you know, it's a lot. As you all know, we have a lot of Christmas. So,
so it's, I mean, I'm sure you can appreciate this, so, we'll talk about next year and and, you know, planning and stuff like that for future. So we can calculate how much that's gonna cost, you guys are gonna have to pony up for that. As far as barricades and picnic tables, what is it, 6 picnic tables?
I believe it's 6.
Wait, it's in
It
John's
says
note, it's 8, it's in, okay, and it's the big heavy ones, our big heavy ones.
Yeah, we just moved them out of the park system, so they're over in the overflow parking lot right now.
Okay, and the barricades, are they the ones that we used to use at Fall Fest, those?
There are typical I-beam barricades, the 2
Okay.
A-frame with the post going.
Are there a lot of them? And what do you do,
They-
leave them there and then they
usually
put them up
request
or, oh, they use 4, that's not too bad. All right. So, I mean, those could be picked up, and I don't know where we probably put you put the picnic tables around where the fire is and so people can sit down and eat
Yeah,
stuff?
and by the food barn, so they can sit
Okay.
outside and eat.
Okay, all right. So what if you guys could figure out a way to get somebody on your team to pick up the barricades and the picnic tables? You
Yeah.
find somebody that can go pick them up if
Yeah.
if these guys tell you where they are. If you can find somebody to go pick them up, that's some hours that the guys
Right.
could, you know, be doing something else.
Yep.
And then, listen, I mean, I certainly understand volunteers. I understand the amount of work it takes to. Yeah, what materials? That's it. Do you have the materials or there are materials?
They've used our materials every year.
Okay, all right, and we've got materials to spare because we're not really using them for anything
We
else.
use the Fall Fest.
The Fall Fest ones, okay. mean, it's, okay, all right.
Eric, I know last year some got damaged and you had to buy them. Was it a lot of money or was it just
No,
insignificant?
it's not a lot, it's just the time aspect, is when the snowplow goes through and it buries over half of them down. And then you gotta go out, you gotta replace the bent ones and then put the roping all back up and everything like
Well,
that.
those two roads, I mean, Country Lane ought to be better now, but you know, Flint Ridge is, snowplow goes through, it can bury anything.
Field Crest was destroyed pretty bad last year by the snowplow.
Crest. Okay, all right.
So I don't know, some of our employees have, are on different wage scales. But we're talking about 64 hours.
Yep.
If a charge out rate is $40 an hour, it's about $2,600. Plus, if anybody has to go out and if there's any damage and replace it, just to give you a ballpark figure of the dollar amount that you'd be billed for.
How early, I have a question, this is for future, whatever, how early would the village let them start putting this stuff up? I mean, we put up Fall Fest a month early. roughly.
I usually like to get out and start roping about 2 weeks prior.
2 weeks,
It's a
okay.
nice little, hey, visual, hey, something's coming down the pipe here, get ready for
Okay.
this.
So the village would allow maybe 3 weeks out.
I think we've done it about a week prior to their weekend of.
I'm just trying to save time and do it earlier, and if whether they do it or we do it earlier would be okay with doing it 3 weeks out or something. you know?
Before the ground freezes.
Before the ground freezes and when somebody's got a little bit more time, and at this time of year. People don't have a lot of time. Okay. What about, I mean, is there, can we have an agreement? Can we have some sort of a thing moving forward? Or is the committee worried that that locks us into something that maybe we don't wanna be locked into? I don't know.
I think if we have an operating agreement with SBAA. The Sister Bay Advancement Association, the Sister Bay Historical Society. I think it would do us all well, to work on an operating agreement moving forward. So we're not in this position every year,
Right.
which
Yeah.
will also save everybody's time also.
Right, yeah.
And you won't have to sit through hours
Oh,
of.
that was fun.
Right. Another thing that could happen too is, so we have 8 guys out there. So what if we had 4 guys and you had 4 guys? I know that's not easy sometimes. But if somebody from your team should understand how we do it.
Well, we know how to do it.
Okay, it
It's
just, you don't
the
have to.
age of our volunteers, to
Yeah.
be honest. We get the volunteers,
Okay.
but they're 80 years old.
Yep.
It's kind of the issue.
Yep.
So.
I know you need younger, don't we all? But, okay,
So Louis, it kind of sounds like it boils down to, we're generally, unless Mike or Nate have a different opinion.
Yeah.
Aligned with working with the historical society on them,
Yeah.
us billing them for the hours they use. And the ask is that for next Chris Kindle Martin Beyond, that we develop a formal operating
Well,
agreement.
that we work on it this winter.
Yeah.
yeah.
Before the next one.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it could be similar to what we have with the SBA, which I think that they're comfortable with, and so we could, simple. We do this, you do that,
Right.
okay?
Yeah.
And then, if somebody's got a pickup truck or a flatbed or something, and you guys can go get those barricades at picnic tables, it's just one less thing they can tell you where they are. Then you can arrange pickup, that would be great.
Yeah.
Everybody okay with that? You guys okay with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, well,
So
we
that's
love,
what it
we
sounds
love
like.
Chris
We don't need a
Kindle. Chris
motion.
Kindle brings good business to the community. We hope you have a good one,
Thank you.
so keep up the good work out there. We appreciate you.
So Louise, that's consensus then, no motion.
That's consensus, we need a motion, right? That's consensus. Right,
All right,
Thank
thank you.
But maybe after the first of the year, and I know Julie, you
Yeah,
won't
for
be
future.
here.
yeah. We'll put it on
Noted
an
it somewhere
agenda.
that we need
So
to.
except February, March,
Yes.
April.
An operating agreement,
I
yeah,
think that in that operating agreement, you'd want by a motion.
regular act, okay. Right, thanks, John and John.
Thanks, everybody.
Yep.
I'm
Okay,
hoping that you will hang out for just 10 more minutes, because I have a question, may have a question for you. On our
Yeah.
next agenda item.
okay, Lagerquist chicken equipment. This is very exciting. Okay, shoot.
So there's an old chicken coop. When the previous Parks Committee had taken a walk through there, one time they had indicated that was one of the buildings they wanted torn down, I think. Anyway, there's a gentleman who used to spend a lot of time out at that chicken coop with his father. And he was wondering, when he was a little boy. And he was wondering if we'd be willing to sell or even possibly give him those old chicken nesting boxes.
Does he want the
Rather than
entire
have it
structure
destroyed.
or just the internals?
The entire structure, because he was talking about taking them off the wall and how it's a much bigger project than he thought. It's a lot of work. It went out there with Eric, they looked at them.
So he wants the building, the whole coop.
No, he wants the nesting
That's what I
boxes
thought.
that are
Okay,
in
the
the
boxes.
Yeah.
So we do not have the ability legally, ethically, I believe, to just give them to somebody who's interested. I think we have to advertise.
And,
Put a
and,
small ad in the paper.
and so that's why I had looked at our policy on it, and the policy talks about other stuff, but it didn't talk about this type of stuff. So I'm like, I'm bringing it to the committee because I don't know what to do with that because we don't have a
I
policy
think
on
it
it.
has to be opened up to the public because could be other people who would want to do something with them and they just haven't said anything. And is there any reason that the Historical Society would want chicken nest boxes?
Out of logger
I
list.
know what that is.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna say that. Did anyone have a picture of
So
chicken nest?
they're the boxes, you know, chickens will crawl in there. There's a full of straw, the chicken will sit in there and it'll pop its eggs, you know, that's where it
It's
kind of
their
sits,
nest.
sleeps.
It's a box.
It's their
the
nest. And they're kind of like cubbies, you know, like when you're a little kid, you have your little shoe cubbies. It's like that, but there are holes in the chickens crawl in there and lay their eggs and fall asleep.
I guess my question is, I mean, I thought part of the plan was that for that to be someday a public site, maybe a working museum. Wouldn't you want to have that in the museum?
There's been no, not a lot of discussion on that.
Oh, I'm
Publicly.
just saying, maybe we should just hang on to it until the point in time where we have the discussion.
Look, if someone could send me a photograph of that, we have a new curator. Who is in the process of formalizing our accession and decession procedures. And that's exactly the kind of thing that I would bring up to the curator and say, look, we have a chicken coop on the site. Okay, now I don't know, I believe we have something similar to that in the chicken coop as it currently resides on the property. And whether we need another one is a question. So I won't answer that. I'll ask our curator and we can take it from there.
Okay.
I think to your point, Mike, is do we piecemeal this away or before we have a plan for Lagerquist?
No.
And I think that we should, we haven't talked about Lagerquist since I've been on parks, which has not even been a year, and I don't think there was a lot of discussion before that. I think that we've got a lot of stuff out there that we haven't touched that we need to at least make sure we maintain some of the things we purchased. So I think that that's part of a bigger discussion that we should have before we start piecemealing this out.
And certainly we can keep this person's information.
Do we need, excuse me, for future, do we need to come up with the policy that, is it right now it covers vehicles and equipment? But it doesn't cover items like this. Can we just make an amendment to that policy to add these kinds of items? Do we have to do that or?
I think you definitely should be addressing it because there was something else. We had,
The sign?
an old cell phone. Somebody's like, well, can I just have it? And we're like, no, it's public property. We have to give it back, you know?
All right, so we need to look at that,
Just anything that the village
Policy.
owns. We don't have to specify.
Anything a taxpayer. Yeah, I mean, anything a
Right.
taxpayer dollars were used on,
Sure.
we as staff cannot get rid of it.
Okay.
Where does that review happen though? Is that a,
Well, so the policy talks about vehicles and equipment, and that happens at the department head level. And with the committee, depending, you know, it goes up to a committee. But there's nothing about something that's not vehicle or equipment. You know, it's because the nesting boxes aren't equipment, you know? So what happens with stuff like that?
I guess what I'm saying is that some of that's is beyond the scope of parks, I would think. Or does it
Well,
just-
it's up to each oversight committee. So like Marina Committee will look
Marina
at
would
what
have
the marina
something,
is getting
right.
rid of. And let's face it, Parks, Property and Streets, so Parks does end up with most of it.
We could just add miscellaneous items or something like that, if you
Well, that-
make it broader, but, yeah.
We should review that in another meeting. then.
Yeah, I have it on here, okay. Okay, next up is, sorry, 5E. Loggerquist goose hunting.
No,
So where else do we allow hunting on village parks?
I wondered that myself.
So we don't have a prohibition on the parking, hunting in the park, like you can hunt out at Pebble Beach.
Could we maybe think about that one?
no,
Good.
that's part of the
They're allowed to hunt with the
Land
DNR
trust
thing?
girls.
land trust
land trust,
and the grant.
Okay,
But Denise, if we have a village ordinance against discharging weapons, I mean, I think that might override it, and I'm a hunter. I thought in the village proper,
Yeah, there's
you
no
can't do
discharge
it.
of
I mean, that might be
firearms.
something worth checking out. I agree with you, I wouldn't allow it here either.
it says
But-
village-owned lands, so maybe what you're referring to is private property, I don't know.
No, I think,
So there's a-
I
there's a
think, I
village
thought our
ordinance.
existing ordinance would prevent this and the park hunting. And I think there's even an override if there's state funded land in a village where you have an ordinance against discharges of weapons.
So with the Loggerquist property, so we have something about parks and discharge of firearms, there's nothing that would, Loggerquist isn't a park. So,
But it's
But-
in the
but-
But
village.
it's not just, I think it's a village line, this is.
Yeah.
Prohibition against.
That, I mean, I don't, we'd have to read our existing ordinance, but, or check with Randy, but
Yeah, that's
I'd be
my understanding
surprised.
too, when I asked a few years ago. About a shooting range or something, is no discharge of firearms within the village,
yeah.
end of story.
I mean, when I said hunting in Pebble Beach, because that's how it's set up with the grant
Right.
and whatever, it's bow.
Oh, that's
Bow
different.
hunting.
Oh, that would
That's
be-
different.
I said
Big difference.
hunting, I
That-
didn't
that's
clarify bow hunting.
So
Yeah,
my
yeah.
suspicion is we can't even authorize this if we,
I'm fine, cause I.
unless he's gonna
I'm
bow
not in
hunt
favor of
or
this,
a
but-
piece, which is kind of hard.
Won't think you can legally.
I know guys
so
that do
yeah,
it, but
no, I have no down.
Okay,
Okay.
that consensus would be no. Then we look at the, I guess we have to look at. We have to look at a code that,
Yeah,
or
we're
do
doing,
we think we're covered? Okay,
making you guys a long list for January.
thank you. Memorial benches, sorry, 5F. Memorial bench program, bench request, bench moratorium.
Okay, so last month we said we'd bring these two back.
Yeah, but Wilkie was still in there.
Yeah, Wilkie, we approved.
We approved that.
Wilkie's in the
I looked at the minutes, and I thought I took the one you approved out and put the other ones
It's okay,
in.
it's in the packet, but we're good. All right.
Cause Win and Stain, Wilkie still in here?
Just, yeah, but we approved that last time.
Anyway, so Win and Staying are the two that you're looking at. And then, you know, I know we did not have time to look at the policy, so I said to Louise, you know, maybe you just come up with like I don't wanna say a moratorium, but like a hold on accepting any new applications
Right.
until you can look.
Because right now the plan would be to put a moratorium on them and then get the location for all the benches we have. And a current inventory, and you don't have any benches right now, right?
Inventory?
No, inventory of what you have that, like, somebody wants a bench, do you have a bench that we could get
Heidi
somebody?
had an inventory.
To my knowledge, Heidi did have one.
And where they're located,
It's my understanding that that's been hard to narrow down to where.
so that's what they're working on now, is trying to figure out
Yes.
what we have and where they're located.
Can somebody just call Heidi and ask her the question, please?
Well, so we're trying to get everything in our GIS system, so I had talked to Megan and Eric about getting it in the GIS system where you could hover over the bench and it's gonna tell you who it is and when it was,
That'd be
when
great.
it expires. So I thought it was better to get it.
We found a few lists, and so we are currently getting those through
Beautiful.
Megan on that GIS.
Trying to get it so
Oh,
it's all in
okay.
one place, so we don't have all the issues that way.
Okay, great.
Okay.
But as far as the waiting list, have we tracked that down yet?
It would be in the bubble as well. to say when it expired or when their bench is up for renewal.
But not for people that are actually currently waiting. Isn't that the question that we're trying to define right now?
Oh,
Yeah, because we have two right now that we're looking at.
There's two that are waiting.
we
Oh,
found,
so there's just two that are waiting.
no, we found a waiting list, but it hasn't been updated in a while, but there are quite a few people on that waiting list.
Okay. So that kind of
And I have to
answers the
correct
East's
myself.
question about.
We're looking at two new ones, but
Okay.
yes, you have another.
That's right, that's correct. So we have two new that will potentially go on that waiting list. But we will try and get folks off that waiting list.
So you're gonna contact the oldest ones first to see if they still want
I
a
believe
bench?
that's our policy.
Okay,
Do
So,
we collect the money from these people?
I don't believe so.
no,
No.
Not until we have a bench opening.
Okay,
So
so,
I will make a motion, that we, have a moratorium on accepting new applications until the policy has been reviewed and, we have a working GIS map of their placement. The waiting list is updated
mhm.
and postpone the two that are still, outstanding in our packet today.
second.
All in favor? Any nays?
The one thing I'd ask is we gotta really look closely at the subjectivity on how we determine who qualifies for one and make sure
Well, that's
we're
what
really
we're gonna
tight on
do.
that. That's what you had said, I think.
No, that's what we did when we came up with this. Now the Parks Committee is different. They don't like it, so now we are looking at it again.
Uh,
But we went and spent months creating this one.
And I've looked at it and it's good. I don't know, the world changes, including kind of the legal environment, and the question is, are we still good? Or is somebody gonna challenge us? So it's a good idea to review it.
We
We
did
agree.
have somebody challenge us. It was very hostile a couple of years ago.
And I think my opinion is when we do reevaluate it, we look at potential zones. Like here is the zone of really restrictive, here is a less restrictive zone, here is a, thanks for your money,
And
here's
here's
a bench.
yeah.
Okay.
But that'll be future, is that a January agenda, future administrative duty?
Definitely in 26.
That'll be
Definitely in
January.
26.
That was a motion. Did we have a second on that?
I seconded it,
Okay.
did I?
No, Mike did.
Mike did, and
And it was all eyes.
there was all eyes. Okay, next up will be 5G Fall Decorations Review Invoice.
Okay, so on this one, we received an invoice from Joy for corn stalks and pumpkins. It wasn't budgeted.
This is
Staff
on
doesn't-
me, I told her to decorate the front of the post
Yeah.
office.
And just, staff can't just go and approve it since it
Well
wasn't.
aware,
So-
so I should.
So
not
it takes
have done
committee
that.
approval.
Okay, I'll pay for it, not a big deal.
So what do you want to do with it?
I'll pay for it, I told her to do it.
You don't even want the committee to talk about it, Louise?
Anybody want to talk about this?
You're saying you're gonna pay for it personally, or we should pay for it as a committee?
Well, I spent the money and I shouldn't have.
I think that we pay, it benefited the village, let's,
It was beautiful.
don't do that again, but let's pay these bills.
Well, I would suggest you ask the other committee members.
I'm
And then
stating
let
my
us know.
position, I'm waiting for anybody else to speak up.
I agree that you shouldn't do it again, but I don't think you should have to pay for it out of your own pocket. I think it was well intended.
It's okay. Look, you can't do stuff like this. I understand that. I'm chair of the committee. I'm paying for it. All in favor? Aye.
I think you can make that, I think you can make that decision.
I'll make a motion that
I'll
we
be
pay
doing
the two invoices as submitted. Motion by Bell.
Who pays for it? The village?
Yes.
Oh,
Anybody else gonna second?
Nate, my problem is, this was a positive one. But tomorrow it could be somebody else doing this.
exactly. You can't.
I'm afraid of the precedent it sets, even though I support what you're saying and I support Louise. I don't think you can do this if we knew we were in conflict with procedures.
I know you do. It's all okay. It's all right.
The problem would be is if we just paid it. It's not that we couldn't say it was okay after the fact or not, right? Julie, I mean, that's inherently
Staff, so staff wouldn't pay it unless we knew it was budgeted or approved, because otherwise staff gets in trouble.
Which is
So-
the process, that's what
But
should
if the
happen.
committee were to say, okay, we're gonna pay this, is that a problem?
No, but the committee would have to let us know what they're paying it with.
They're paying with taxpayer dollars, that's what they're paying it with,
Well, we have to come, yeah.
just saying.
Like what account, because we don't, which, something for 26. You might think about a beautification committee that.
Well, that was the.
I like that,
After
that's
this
a great idea.
Well, after this discussion, we should talk about this, and Eric's not here, so we could talk about it separately in the next meeting or something, but. So, do we have a motion for me to pay, do we need a motion? Is there any consensus that? I'm paying.
So the motion, I made a motion and it failed.
It failed,
So
right.
Sarah's got that.
Okay,
So then I think it should just, then the records show you volunteer to pay the bill.
okay,
Would that
And
be okay?
so just as a point of just housekeeping, you want me to pay her directly, you want me to pay the village, what do you want me to do?
I think you should pay her directly.
I agree with that,
Yeah,
Julie.
it's a little messy otherwise. So what I think we ought to do,
But
as
then can we get at least get a copy of the invoice saying that it was paid? Since it was billed
Sure.
to us,
Mhm.
sure, I'll just print this and,
just get Joy to sign, say it
and
paid.
I'll have Joy sign it. I think what would be good, one second, what would be good is, what we should be working through is things that Parks is doing, the Parks team.
We're off this agenda item now. I mean, if we want to put that for a future item, we should probably. do that.
What? I haven't changed the agenda item.
Are we not talking about this invoice? You're talking beyond the invoice now.
Right, but I'm still talking about decorate, okay, I'm not, we'll talk about it for future
Yes.
agenda item, perfect. Ellie, did you have something to say?
I just had a question, I guess, cause I know post office was decorated last year too, was that just cause was it just budgeted or?
You know what,
who did
Sarah?
that last year?
So last year we got a bill from Joy. And it said decorations for Pumpkin Patch Festival.
Pumpkin patch,
Yeah, actually, I remember that.
And I said, I got a hold of her and I said, emailed her, you know, because we want a record of it. Didn't hear back, so then I wrote her a letter. And it said that, Joy, I'm sorry, you must have some mistake. I talked with the Parks Director, we did not order this. And we do not have a pumpkin patch festival, so by any chance was this meant for Egg Harbor? And then she never got back to us.
Yeah, cause I think you had forwarded it to me, saying like if that was.
Like, did you
lost,
do
but,
this?
like, we paid with the card every time we went.
Yeah, because we couldn't figure out who, so she had done it last year too, and then we're
Yeah.
like, well, maybe she just did it because she wanted the village to look nice, we don't.
she does a lot of that,
Yeah,
but it's hard
you
to
could do
see
that.
which.
yeah, okay, I was just curious.
Joy does that. Okay, we are on to item, discussion item 5H, Waterfront Park, concrete work and bids.
So Eric is gone, but you know, we had said, the committee had said, don't use the vendors we have, instead go with this other vendor. It's been 2 months, he still has not gotten us a bid. First of all, he doesn't do pillars like the stonework, the benches. But he's gonna find somebody who would, he was gonna get us this.
Well, then why deal with him if he's gotta get a sub? That's
Because
ridiculous.
Because the committee said that they wanted us to go with him instead of the other ones, so. Long
I
story
think the
short,
committee suggested him as one of the quotes.
so long story short, we missed the opportunity to pour anything right now, okay? So Eric is continuing, so everything is gonna be delayed another year. So we'll be in spring number 3 on this bench project, countertop project. But he will continue to get bids and, hopefully that this can be resolved and get things poured.
I mean, just from this one company or from anybody?
If we now want him to continue to get the other bids, he'll do that. The concern Eric and I had when the committee said, don't go with the other ones, go to this guy and get bids was, yeah, but if it's over 25, we need 3 bids. So, and I think it's gonna be over 25 anyway, so Eric is,
Yeah.
you know, he'll just get the 3 bids again. I'll be honest with you, I know you said not to use the other ones, if they're saving $10,000-15,000, I think we should be using them.
I didn't think we had any competing bids.
We did. We knew exactly what because we had proposals to do it in spring. So, But the other thing is, I have to get a hold of the sign manufacturer and let her know now the project has been delayed till spring, so. Because we're not gonna have the concrete there for her to mount the sign. So just so we're all aware on that. So I'll tell Eric, I believe the consensus here is to get 3 bids
So this is
and look at
for
spring.
concrete for the benches and countertop and the gazebo and the base for the sign?
And the
Yes.
slab.
So
for the
they're
sign.
combined now?
And the slab for the sign, well, yeah. As long as you got.
So we had a guy we used for the slab work, and then we had one that would do the benches. And the pillars, he's the one who does most of them in Door County. And we had those bids, they were from spring. But we'd wanna get them updated, next year I'm sure they're gonna be a little higher. But, okay, we've got the information we need on that one. Okay, new parks maintenance building, we had told the committee we would give you an update once we had all the numbers in. So we wanted to let you know where that project came in at. The 4 million was enough, not by much, but it was. It left about 30.
Even with the lateral, it was still enough.
Yes, and that's the unfortunate part, because we only have 36,000 left to do the cold storage building. Had the parks building not have had to pay for that entire lateral, they definitely would have had enough for the cold storage building. So the lateral is being used, of course, a little bit's gonna go to the concession restroom. But it's also gonna fund the new community center, ice rink.
So
mean, it
Parks
ran all the way
Maintenance
across the
Building
park.
bears the brunt of it, or
Yep.
bears all of the cost, even
Because
though
they were
that
the
lateral
first-
is
because-
multi-use.
Because they're the first one, you had to get it to them, so they're bearing the full cost of it. I mean, how else, you can't really cost it out to anything else unless.
We
Unless it was a
could, we
general
could do
park.
something in the future, and add it to something that it pays
Budget-
back.
Project back.
Right, budget back, when we have those conversations at that point in time.
Yeah, I mean, we could have. Discussed and put in the budget that just the general parks budget pays for that whole lateral instead of this project. But at the time, if you remember, oh my God, we don't have sewer to that building, what do we do? So we're kind of moving
Yeah,
quickly
they go
to
quickly.
get it done. But anyways, so there's 36,000 left. Eric is still working on bids. As you know from his staff report, one of the issues that he has is a lot of people don't want to give you the bid unless they're gonna get the job.
So I've gotten, from a couple of people, not a lot. One of them is Ken Church. A lot of pushback on why we need to re-side the entire cold storage.
And not just paint it.
I mean, I drove around it, a couple of weeks ago. There are definitely some bad boards or panels, I should say. Holes in them, you could see mold on them, etc. And now he's gone and won't be able to answer the question, why do we need to reside the entire thing? If we picked up the building and moved it,
And it didn't fall apart.
and it didn't fall apart.
Yeah.
Is there something else that we can do? And I'd like an answer to that, because certainly, I don't know what residing it is going to cost, and it's
Sure.
not in our CIP for next year or the next 5 years.
It was not in the CIP because we were looking, well, we said we would do it as part of this project.
Right,
And then it was, let's see how much money is left, so that's where we're at right now. So
What's
we're
it-
waiting before we could put in a CIP.
What material is it made of?
oh, it's just that,
It's just like a composite plywood almost,
So it's nothing that, I'm
and
thinking about if you replace.
it's grooved,
Yeah,
it's a
Yeah.
panel.
The LP Smart Side.
so you could, if you replace the
no, it
boards,
predated that kind of stuff, Jerry.
just when you start replacing boards, and all of a sudden you're replacing another board and another board, but I don't know if we,
So I
what
just
we
wanted
have-
to hear why.
yeah, I got you.
So I can help with that. So, first of all, you have to understand what you have are 4x8 sheets which are actually the walls of the building, so they're holding up the studs in the building, so it was weird design.
Yep.
And you have a lot of rotted ones that should be fixed. And then it was actually the committee that talked about, let's re-side it, put a new roof on, make it match the building. That's where that came from. If the committee says at this point, just replace the rotten boards and paint it, that's what we do. It's up to the committee.
It seems sensible to me.
And I told Ken Church, I said, go up there when you're driving around someday, see if you can catch somebody. And go take a walk around inside the building, and from a guy who knows
I know.
construction and woodworking and stuff.
I know we did get a little bit more damage this year to the building because apparently when they moved it, the soffit buckled and so all the water was pouring down into the wall, onto the wall, so there was a little damage there. I think, if we just replace the boards that are really bad and paint it and spend the money on the roofing, I think that's good.
So it needs a new roof?
Yeah, we had talked about doing a new
I don't
roof on it.
remember, okay.
We talked about a lean-to for the bus,
Yep.
that's just not gonna happen.
Why?
You only have $36,000.
No, but I mean, if we do the bigger project at that time, why
Oh,
would we
In
not
the
do?
future, yeah, I mean, I think you should still plan on
Okay.
that, just right now, because you only have 36,000.
But we're not doing anything with $36,000.
It's just I think you could get it raw.
Not for $36,000. Oh my God,
How
a
big
friend
is
of
that?
mine just had their house done for 25.
Oh my God, my
Yeah.
friend just had hers
That
done
is
for
a
7.
simple roof.
Yeah,
That's why it's
simple.
not just the size, it's the complexity of the roof too that comes into it.
Yeah, but that is way bigger.
Well, let's see what kind of bid we got. We know we have 36,000, okay? So it sounds like, if I understand everybody correctly,
Who's picked out the color because our new
there
building
isn't
is
like
metal.
that. So there are no colors picked out yet. So the consensus right now is repair the boards that are damaged and just,
I'm not saying
Well,
that.
I think
I'm
this is gonna be another topic for further
Right.
discussion.
Just
If you want to hear it
more
simple, then-
details. I want to hear back from Ken Church. Eric's not here to convince me why, so I can hear the bigger. So
and I know he has spent a lot of time getting bids and talking to people about the walls and stuff. So, okay, so for your 26th agenda, we'll put on there the repairing the walls and roof discussion. Does that sound fair?
Actions to take for the cold storage building, not whatever that discussion leads to, it leads to.
Alrighty.
If I'm hearing everybody correctly.
You are, I think.
And then this breakdown is gonna go to the board because the board had wanted to see it too.
Right.
All in all, it's pretty good. We had a $250,000 surprise and still came in under budget.
You had a lot of surprises on there because you also had,
Yeah.
with winter construction.
Eric is now joining us
Oh, great.
So
via Zoom.
the meeting's long enough. It can be on next month's agenda.
Okay.
So we are on 5, I'm sorry, we're on, 5J, discuss department staffing, proposed hires and wages.
okay, so as you saw in the staff report, we said we would revisit this in November. So Eric and I met with his staff, got an update from them on what they thought worked, what they didn't work. They said, of course, they would love to consider, or they'd still love to have that big bonus they were getting. I explained to them it's not realistic. It was a trial basis to see how it would go. And we talked about what does it take to move forward so they don't get burnt out, so they're not doing so many weekend rotations. And as you saw here, conversation was to have a seasonal full-time person for 6 months that would help from spring through Fall Fest and be in that rotation. And when a rotation, I mean, so if you have 3 guys, if you have 4 people, one works every 1 weekend a month. You have
So
3 of
less
course.
hours for all the crew, basically.
Right. And then you'd have 2 part-time seasonal mowers, and we talked about targeting students. Whereas, which we believe would be easier to fill than looking for full-time person or somebody that's not a student. And then they still felt that if they were going these winter months without somebody to help them, even though the work is less than you have in summer, they did feel they should be compensated. So I told them I would propose compensation at the next step in the wage scale. I told them I had a hard time arguing for anything more than that.
So is
I
a
didn't
good
really-
summary, Julie, then, the wage bonus extra hour structure that we had this summer goes away, and instead we add some additional part-time staff and an additional small pay bump in the winter.
Correct.
And it all comes down to less than hiring somebody
Correct.
completely year-round.
Correct.
Would the new schema be less than the extra bonus structure we did this summer? Or would it be about comparable? For
It would be
overall
less.
cost, less?
It would be less. I did ask Glad to run the numbers, she hasn't had time for it.
So explain to me. This is my understanding. Of the parks crew. Is that. So you work Monday through Friday and you're on call this weekend, okay, so you work Saturday and Sunday. And then you work the next 5 days. Okay, so they're working 12 days in a row,
Because
right?
they're on call.
Cause they're.
I interrupt
Well, they're
for
on
1 second?
rotation, they're not on call, they're actually on rotation.
There's a
working.
difference between on-call and
Yes,
rotation.
they're
yeah.
going in and doing what they have to do. So they work the first Monday through Friday, the rotation on Saturday and Sunday. And then my understanding is on that Monday, when they came back, that they did grass cutting. Because now they've worked 7 days. And so they kind of get a little bit of an easier job going into the next 5 days, whether it's 1 day or 2 days, I don't know. Or did they do it all week? I don't know those details. So if you're talking about hiring 2 people, students or otherwise, and I don't know what students can work through Fall Fest.
No, the mowers are just through the summer months.
Okay. Then does that mean who's ever on rotation doesn't get to take it a little bit easier for a day or 2 and is right back out in the field doing other hard labor projects, etc.? And how do they feel about that? Or is something about my understanding on how this works wrong?
So I asked them about that. I said to them, so you want 2 people mowing? I said, I thought you liked mowing. I thought that's what you look forward to because it gave you a little bit of a break. And they said, no, they wanted the mowers because what happens is during the week, you have like a partner, and that's when you're doing projects. And then at the end of the week, of course, if there's mowing to be done, you have that mowing and it's kind of like a wind down thing. Because I too had heard, especially when we talked about the robo mowers, I had heard some people didn't support that because they wanted to mow. And they were like, no, they all said they wanted the 2 mowers to come in. And they were the ones who said, well, maybe one could do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the other one could do Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That came from staff.
There's
Now, I
somebody,
will say this, Eric agreed with that. Eric had also talked about that.
somebody that sat on a mower for a long time, I can tell you that it's one thing if you're doing it for a few hours here and there, that can be a real great thing, kind of like mentally check out. That part is relaxing. When you're doing it, it gets monotonous as much as it can be a wind down. If you're just doing that, it gets really boring and you do want something, at least that was my experience and the other people I work with.
Too much.
Granted, that's
you know.
20 some years ago, but I can't imagine that being on mowers that different than it was back then.
Okay,
But then, the other thing we have to think about is, the Fall Fest is what really takes a toll on them. They did say, we think we should be paid triple time during Fall Fest.
well, I agree, I'm not agreeing to that yet, but I do agree that they should get the Monday after Fall Fest off.
And
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Tuesday, because they're taking barricades and everything else
Oh.
down. Like that was a big thing this year, putting those barricades in and out. We don't really want those sitting around there. I don't disagree that they should have the time off. But there's a couple things that you kind of need to get done right after Fall Fest.
Well,
Those were sturgeon bay barricades, so they're different than what we've used before. But
Can I,
otherwise.
can I make a motion that we approve the request for 2 summertime student mowers and a half-time additional park staff with the understanding that it'll be about equal to the cost this year?
Well, does that have to go to personnel first?
So this will, whatever we decide will go to personnel.
so you're asking for more than what's in here?
No, I'm asking for what's in there.
No, you
Maybe I said it
two
poorly.
movers and a part-time person.
That's what I
That's what-
understood it.
That's what they're asking for.
I only saw,
Hire a
what I
full-time person
understood
for
when I read
6
it.
months. One full-time seasonal,
And then the
and then.
second
two
Well, there it
part-time
is.
And 2
seasonal.
mowers.
And then they would be, during the winter months, they would be given that little bump. And then it'd go back down when the help.
So they're giving up
comes.
half of their bump, which covers the higher.
And then they would receive the day after Fall Fest off as a paid day off. And I would recommend to personnel that we actually get that in a policy, so it can't be taken away sometime.
Sure, but I also understand what Nate's saying, because. You know, if we've got to return those, but let's just figure out what logistically.
Yeah, yeah.
Makes sense.
In,
Broad
the concept
strokes.
Yeah,
is accepted,
yep.
and then, like I said, they do think they should be paid triple time during the during festivals.
And they're already getting overtime, right?
They're getting time in a half.
What are,
If they've worked 40 hours,
right, if they haven't worked 40 hours.
then it's regular pay.
Then it's regular pay,
So I'm gonna go
because
through the
that
list
all
of-
changed,
Okay.
how staff is paid in overtime.
Well, this says festivals.
This says festival.
what are
I'm going to go-
festivals?
Hold on, I'm gonna go through the festivals that they work. Egg Hunt, they put out garbage cans.
No,
They do not put out garbage cans. All right, Ice Out, they don't work. Winter Wellness Weekend, they don't work. York County Film Festival, they do not work. Egg Hunt, they don't work. Village-wide rummage sale, they don't work. Concerts in the park is trash. Freedom Fest fireworks, they don't work. Movies in the park is garbage cans. So basically, from January until August, besides concerts, there are no festivals that they work,
So festivals is just Marina Fest, Fall Fest.
I guess.
Did you say the goat parade?
I didn't say Go Parade, beg your pardon, Go Parade. So that's June, the next one is September. And the next one is October.
We also have New Year's
What do you do for New Year's?
parking control.
In what way?
So as soon as the sports complex parking lot is full, we close down the road for EMS to get down there to the fireworks.
Okay. Okay,
You also do stuff with prepping the fireworks.
Yeah, we do all the firework prepping too. So Freedom Fest, we actually take part in that one too, setting up the firework trailer. All the fireworks shows we take part in because we have to set the trailer up.
so I mean, Eric, I respect everything that you guys do. But getting paid triple time for putting garbage cans out at the concerts, I
I
don't think. is
don't think
appropriate.
that's their intent, Louise, I really don't.
Well, it said festivals.
Well, let's
And we-
ask Eric here. Eric, what festivals did you attend?
I think staff was under the impression of just Fall Fest.
Okay. And why did they think that?
They feel that just with the amount of time, the energy that's put into it, and what is asked of them basically during that festival, they feel that the higher compensation is justified.
I can add a little bit to that from our conversation. They work all week, they're going, and then Fall Fest comes, they feel they're working nonstop, 14 hours a day or whatever they're doing during that time period. It's nonstop, go, go, go. one employee gave the example of. And this, I think it's. Part of it's self-esteem or, the culture of the event with the job. One employee gave the example of. He was so exhausted, he had done so many miles that day, he finally sat down to take a break. And some older man walks up to him and says, nice to see my tax dollars at work. And so it's this constantly, I have to go, I can't even take a break. I'm constantly being beat up, constantly the scrutiny. I know from another employee, former employee, that it's a very degrading event, I think, for them. Where the example was given, they were emptying the trash can and the people at the event just kept throwing trash at them at their feet, like they were just pick up our garbage. I mean, it's a cultural thing where I think the employee feels very belittled.
Is this part of the ask? I thought the ask was just for the 2 summer helpers and for.
No, it's in the staff report, Mike. It was the bottom bullet.
Okay, okay.
Just triple time for Fall Fest.
Yeah,
guess
I
that
I
would
think
be
they're
safe.
meaning Fall Fest.
So they're
Fall Fest is the big one.
they're getting time and a half now. Can we make a compromise and how much
They're not
extra?
always getting time and a half,
So,
For Fall Fest, we're just talking about Fall
but they
Fest.
don't always get time and a half. It depends if they've had 40 hours in that week or not.
Getting time and a half or getting triple time or anything else will not prevent a human being degrading another human being. Everyone that week works 14-hour days, everyone, every business, these 2, 20-hour days. I did it. So I feel badly about that. I truly do. I know. I'm treated the same way when I work Fall Fest. People are not nice.
no,
I get
I don't agree with that. A minority of people are not nice. Most people down there are
In general, they
incredibly
aren't.
kind.
It isn't
It's just
great.
you've got that 1 or 2% that really stands out in your
100%,
mind.
they're not, it isn't great. I completely understand that. I do. I really do.
You guys have to understand too, though, and Louise,
So
Yeah.
we're way off here.
Louise.
So do we want to have a
Hold on.
conversation about this socially or do we
What-
want to talk, do we want to get to
Talk
work?
about the,
Fine,
talk
sure.
about the
Talk about
monitors.
spending money.
I think the other thing is too, Louise, you know, you have to look at it this way, for like when you were there or even volunteer now, that's SBA's job, right?
Yeah.
When a lot of municipalities have big events, they're paying people to come in and do what our guys are doing, so they're kind of like, they don't really feel it's their job, like, we're doing it because we're village employees and we're trying to help out here, but a lot of places are paying for that service, so kind of like, why do we even have to be doing this? I mean, it's just, it's something they don't want to do. I mean, they like the money.
So should we
But
make
it's
this
hard.
an agenda item where we consider
The
hiring a
report-
third party to do this maintenance? I mean, we can do that.
Eric, our Parks Department doesn't want to work Fall Fest?
I think you would find most of the guys would rather sit it out.
They'd rather come. to
Probably
Fall
enjoy
Fest.
it.
Is that right? They'd rather come to Fall Fest?
I would say that's probably the consensus of most of them, correct?
Okay.
No, I don't,
You think
but maybe Eric knows better about consensus, but I would say that some of us, if you don't have to work it, you want to avoid it like the plague and stay home.
or some of us that have to work it would like to go and enjoy it. Understand completely.
So here's what my thought
So
is
we're
on
not gonna
this.
pay them, we're gonna bring somebody else and pay them, our taxpayers. We'll bring somebody else in and pay them.
My thought is, I don't love triple time, but I would be more inclined to say, if we're gonna do something like that, it should be a bonus per person. Not based on their hourly rate, because it's that person being there, and I think that I would like to see it benefit the guy down on the bottom more than the guy on the top, personally, and that's just where I'm at with this, but I think that we could let personnel dig through that, because that's really their issue to manage.
I think we refer this to personnel.
Yeah, I think the hours does get complicated and overtime laws and whatever. I think a straight bonus for Fall Fest makes sense.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is, yes, to everything proposed, but where it comes to the last one about triple time, we really think that needs to be discussed by personnel and it should be more of a bonus, not a triple time.
I mean, they can kind of equal out,
Yeah,
you know, what would triple time be? And
Okay. And it's Fall Fest that we're really focusing on, which I think that's their concern anyways.
Okay, so we can do the math and see what that looks like.
Okay.
Okey-doke. Next up, I think Eric is your report.
So you have Eric's reporting here, so if there's any questions, he is on the call yet, that can answer them.
So it looks like we're still waiting on JF for that curve, right? Okay.
Yeah, every time I ask him for an update, he just gives me a later date. I know I think the concrete factory is closing November 14th. He gave me November 10th, so he's gonna cut it close. We'll see if it happens.
Okay. Okay, anybody have any questions for Eric? And then there's a note from Sharon thanking Parks and her flower pot angels. I thought the flower pots look great this year. We have rain and we had sun, so they look good.
isn't there something glaring that's wrong in her letter, Louise?
Hold on, Denise, I don't know. I thought I read it and I thought I got
That it's
everything.
short?
Hold on, that it's short. Sharon Dorsham, Parks Property. What'd she spell wrong?
No,
Is it the dollar amount?
last year. Louise said, we had a huge conversation about the gift
Oh,
certificates.
to not give them out.
And then, and Louise said that she would talk to Sharon about it because it was not how we were operating in general for other volunteers within the village. And so that gift certificate was pulled. And yet, has Sharon already gone out and bought them and
Yeah.
billed the village when Louise told her not to?
I think she did, right?
She did.
She did.
Well, that's an issue.
She came in and she wanted the credit card and I told her I did not feel comfortable giving her the credit card.
Did you not remember that when she asked?
Oh, I remember it. Yeah. I absolutely remember it. I don't remember my conversation with her, to tell you the truth, but I don't remember what I had for lunch. So I'm just kidding, but I remember the conversation. Yeah, I do.
So I think we need to follow up with an official letter saying this happens no more.
Okay.
Because if the chair of parks told her no, and she went ahead and did it, it's not unlike a similar situation that we just talked about earlier.
Okay, I'll write her. Thank you. Actually, I can leave that on there for the next one.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, matters to be placed on future agenda. There are a few. I have my list. Do you want to go through yours or do we want to forego that? And because there's a lot.
I don't have my list from this meeting, because I think most of that's gonna go to January or after,
Yeah.
but, go ahead, Louise.
I have a future operating agreement with Chris Kendall with the Historical Society.
Yeah. think
I
that
have a
goes.
policy for, village property aside from vehicles, miscellaneous, whatever. I have a looking at the bench policy along with review of the waiting list and, look at that. I have a review of, the court actions to be taken on cold storage. I have, what else? Well, this is not future, but we need to follow up and talk to, Community Foundation about the CIF. I have Pebble Beach erosion and get the discussion about
Yes,
that.
we decided to put that for December.
I don't know, does anybody else? That's what I had. Probably go back to this again. Oh, I think the other thing was to, I don't know if we call it decorations or whatever, remember, is that what you mentioned?
Beautification.
Beautification, there we go. Beautification committee.
Well, What's the next actions for administration building?
I think we're waiting for the soil borings.
Which, by the way, I received today.
Oh,
So that would be on your agenda,
okay.
next agenda, okay?
We probably also need an agenda item for where the administrators go when the administration building existing gets.
Yeah, we do, which would be in the, oh, what would that be? Fall of, right? Notes, there's my notes. What we
I
can
think
talk
it would
about
be
it then.
brought down till spring of 27
Yeah.
based on what Jennifer was saying. before.
Okay,
Is there a meeting in December? We keep talking about January.
yeah, the
Okay.
December
We're talking
meeting.
about
would
January
be-
because you'll have a different administrator, so I was moving all the,
Or no administrator.
no administrator, so I was just moving everything over to the.
Okay,
meeting I wouldn't be at.
I just wanted to make sure.
The meeting is on Monday, December 1st, unless anybody has any kind of issue with that. Anyone? Everybody okay with that? Is that the Monday after Thanksgiving or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Might be,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think it is.
Thanksgiving is late again, okay. Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, thanks, everybody.